mythology. I would rather say, well, let's try to understand what actually is going
But
on
you
and
call the white
why.
woman the aggressor.
I say that she is aggressive because we live in the context of a white supremacy society in which white people are the dominant group. They are the people who control the power. We are the oppressed people. We are the
In
people who
other
are
words,
victims of that system. Just like, I mean, in terms of history, was just a short 2 months ago in terms of the whole historical span, that black men were being lynched for looking at a picture of a white woman. Do you see? And now we are told, well, now everything is opened up. Well, I want to understand, well, why is it that everything is opened up? I think everything is opened up since black men started talking about black power. You see, when black men start talking about black power, then that says, well, all right, maybe there will be a challenge to the system of white supremacy domination, not only in this area of the world, but all over the world. So the white supremacy system says, all right, well, now what do we do to, get these people back in control? And what do we do to get them back in check? That is the black man. Well, we'll lay our ace trump card on them, which is a white woman.
in other
Do you
words,
see, which brings the
I
black
think
man then back within the context that the white supremacy system is going to work for you. See, we denied you this, now you have it. But on close examination, in spite of all of the black-white marriages, the black-white sex that has occurred throughout history, in the last 500 years, there has been no serious tampering with the maintenance of white supremacy, certainly not through the bedroom activity. Do you see what I'm saying? But in other words, it throws people off balance.
so.
In other
The
words,
white woman is still, I think, in a position of psychological dominance, and
right,
that insofar as
right.
she is, that's a form of white supremacy, and that the black men are frequently responding to her dominant position. The fact that she is considered a superior status object in society. But getting back to this point,
Well, let me
about,
ask a question before
yeah,
you
go
move to
ahead.
that. Then if we accept that, are we saying that the black men who marry white women are asking for dominance from a female?
No, the black men who are married by white women.
But
No,
the trend you continually
No, I think that they're looking for status.
the black men are
The
looking for
black
status.
men are looking for status whether they are aware of it or not. In other words, as long as you have white supremacy domination any place in the world, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Hawaii, whether it's Japan, any place, you name it, that as long as the people of color are the people who are oppressed, then when a marriage occurs, in other words, the dominator says, I will pick you amongst the victims who I dominate to marry you, then the victim says, oh, goody, this means I'm in.
Well, that's true, but if I can ask this question,
Okay.
it seems the way you are framing your analysis that the almost total blame, if we can use that word, for interracial marriages is because of one, white society vis-a-vis white supremacy,
Seeking to maintain itself.
and two, white women being the aggressors. You seem to be saying, and I'm asking a question, that black men are just blameless and they're sort of like the victims of something that they have no control over, or that they have no need to be married to a white woman for some perhaps pathological basis.
No, let's say, for example, if you set up the conditions for the development of a sadomasochistic relationship, then the masochist as well as the sadist is a part of that relationship, and they are playing roles that they have been conditioned to play. In other words, a person who is a masochist seeks out the sadist because then they could play their sort of dual game, their mutual reciprocity together. Now, within the dynamic of the system of white supremacy, you have, for example, many of the white women who are with black and other non-white men are actually, I believe, having a dialogue with white men.
How does that work?
See, the dialogue goes like this, according to my analysis. First of all, the white women, we have the women's liberation movement, which is a dynamic of white females. Okay, they are asking for liberation out from under the white male. All right, now within the dynamic of the white supremacy culture, you also have penis envy. In other words, the white men have been perceived as being dominant over the woman. And so the woman says, well, I wish I had a penis. Okay, so what does she do? She says, well, I'll go out and get one that's supposed to be more powerful than yours, but I'm going to control it because we are white and we control all of the non-white. So she goes out and she selects, and all this is unconscious, activity, if you will.
White women are pathological. Now, Frances said she doesn't like to think of it in that framework, but the fact is that a lot of psychiatrists have presented or said that interracial relationships and marriage stem from a type of negative psychological position or some type of pathology because of the racism in society. They'll say that the racism distorts people's minds so that frequently you'll get, say, a white woman attracted to a black man for the wrong reasons or for racist reasons. She may see him as inferior, that might turn her on, or she might see him as a black stud, that may turn her on. All of these are racist perspectives. Or the black man can get attracted to the white woman because she's supposed to be superior, and he wants to be part of that whiteness. In other words, she's sort of anointing him or helping him to feel a sense of self-worth by his involvement.
Well, I wouldn't
with
argue
her.
with any of that.
But
yeah.
At the same time, I think that
let's look
we
at it
can't
this way.
say that this happens with everyone, and even if it does happen, that this is pathological.
Well,
let's look at it this way.
Motivated
Let's say, for example, white men and white women have many difficulties in terms of marriage. Bother to label it, but let's a phenomenon.
Well, for purposes of analysis, let us assume.
Like, let's say everybody who comes to a psychiatrist doesn't want to be labeled as sick. They say, I have a problem. I don't understand how I am relating to this other individual and the product that we have that I don't want. Help me understand it so I can straighten it out. And this is where I'm coming from. I don't want to create a big thing
At the same time, though, I think we can recognize certain things that, I don't know if we want to call them sick, but that are distorted. For instance, I've seen black men married to white women, and essentially they hate other black people, that they have sort of joined the oppressor and are actively anti-black. And they'll
An expression of self-hatred.
That's right. It's an expression of self-hate for them to marry a white woman.
But now,
On the other hand, I see some black men who are married to white women who remain militantly black.
Well, couldn't that be a defense mechanism?
But it is a contradiction.
But being militant, let's deal with this. Some of our most revolutionary blacks have white women. Now, many blacks suspect, and it's an open secret, that their militance is simply a defense mechanism so that they can deal with their need for a white woman.
Well,
but look at it this way. Many of those so-called
go
militants who are married to white women, I think it's because of the way that they have defined the problem for themselves. Many black people who a white person will say, well, that person is militant because the person happens to be saying black power. They are not really talking about the overthrow of white supremacy. They're talking about workers of the world unite, maybe. Do you see what I'm saying? But because they are black, they're saying, well, okay, I'm saying in terms of a
You're
whole
saying they're talking
humanistic
integration,
struggle.
in other words.
They are talking, right. You see what I'm saying? So they don't
talking
perceive,
integration, I think.
But they don't perceive a contradiction because the whole struggle of black people until recently has been defined as trying to get we want to become a part of the society as though it is possible for people of color to become a part of the society. Now, some black behavioral scientists are saying, on the basis of having made an analysis that the system is one of white supremacy, in which none of the non-white people in the entire world, who happen to make up 9/10 of the total world population, none of the non-white people can actually integrate into the system of white supremacy because it is just that, maintaining white supremacy. Okay, so now within that context,
what is good, my people? We are live back again with another live broadcast on the forecast. What's going on, Erica, Cassidra, Bakari? What's going on, Miss Vita? Yeah, I came across that one. It was a good video. You know, I know I played too much. I'm gonna put the link in the chat, and this really for Cassidra to come on here, because just doing the study that I've been doing, I just happened to get to this part right now, where we're talking about the Moynihan Report. And recently, I know Cassidra has been doing this broadcast on, trying to heal the Black community and stuff like this. And I also see that a lot of us just take points out of history and things. And this is a topic that, I see Black men and Black women both try to use this this quote unquote report, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, we got to kind of look at it, especially from what I've been seeing, because I wanted to show it, you know what I'm saying? And so I know Cassidra been talking about, healing the Black community. So that's what we really need to do. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I know a lot of us don't even know what it is, because it's important to look at the whole. That's why I always talk about the history and looking at the whole aspect of it, what happened before then, you know what I'm saying, what happened leading up to it, what happened afterwards, like all of this don't just come out of thin air, right? And there's just no mistakes or no reasons that we aren't where we are, you know. And the thing is, when we're talking about it, we are talking about overthrowing something that is meant to keep, because if you want to be in the position that you want to be in, there's no other choice, you know. And I know a lot of people won't have nothing to do with it, and we got to understand that this platform is for educational purposes. It's supposed to be used for certain purposes, not just to like argue or debate, even though there's a time and a place for that. But we have to use it with direct purposes if we're going to be using these things. These are definitely tools and weapons, and we need to stop pointing them inward, you know what I'm saying? And the way to do that is to really look at the whole history without like arguing about it or like blaming each other, because like that's one point of where we got blamed, you know what I'm saying? And that's why we need to really talk about, you know what I'm saying, stuff like the Moynihan Report, because that's what a lot of people use. Like we be like the 60s and 50s is where we lost control. And if I had to pick a year, I'd be like, I would say like 1965. You would need to investigate that year if you want to be like, what happened from then to now? Like that year was crazy. But what's up, Cassidra?
Hey, what's going on for Cass? How we doing tonight?
We doing good, good. I appreciate you coming on.
I'm gonna go out and come back in because I'm not hearing you correctly. So I'm gonna go out and come back in.
Okay.
Okay. Go out.
All right. I'm not sure.
See if
You can hear me?
No, I'm gonna have to go all the way out. It's
Okay.
it's sounding weird. So I'm gonna try.
All right.
I don't even know how to. Okay, there I go.
All right, got you. All right, so yeah, definitely. Like I was saying, man, it's important that we investigate all of this stuff, you know what I'm saying? And y'all can eventually come on here, but like, we definitely sticking to the topic because it's an interesting topic, you know what I'm saying, from both sides. Because I've seen both black men try to use certain talking points. I see black women use certain talking points, and it's just interesting to how we never like question any of this stuff or try to figure out where it came from or like the root of all of it. Because again, like we're not looking at the whole history and totality, everything that was happening right before then, right? Because that's all the stuff that they're going to leave out. So that's some of the stuff that we're going to talk about, right? And I'm gonna give Cassidra a second, you know what I'm saying, because I want to show y'all something. But anyway, let me see. Right, so now I'm gonna talk a little bit about what the Moynihan Report is, you know what I'm saying, because this dude Moynihan, a lot of people don't even know who he is, or I don't even care if I say his name right or wrong, you know what I'm saying. But in 1965, you know what I'm saying, they released the Moynihan Report. Yeah, consider you can hear me?
Yep, it's better.
All right,
Much
good.
better.
That's what's up.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, but yeah, because I wanted you to introduce yourself before I went in. What's going on, Coco? But I wanted you to introduce yourself, before we go in, because I support, you know what I'm saying, what you're doing. And as far as the content you're making and what you're doing otherwise, like it says there,
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I think everybody pretty much knows, but I have a foundation called Ram in the Bush. And what we do is pretty much take care of inmates, reentry, I'm going to call them. And we also do high schoolers, the ones that are graduating from ages 18 to 25. Now, the reentry program, I've gotten to the point where I don't really have an age. So it's pretty much if they need me at 30 when they come out, I'm there. They need me at 35, I'm still there for them because I know that there's a special circumstance. Okay. But if they're high schoolers, it's from 18 to 25. And we pretty much find them places to work, paid on the job training, or we will send them to like a technical school, for instance, HVAC and electrician. I couldn't find a paid on the job training for them. So what we do is send them to like a technical school, and a lot of time they go for free. And it's only maybe a 10-month program. So, we just try to, get them an edge. We're allowing them to build their own tables. They do a lot of stuff in the jail, in the prison system, but they can't come out and use it, which makes no sense to me. If I'm trained to be a welder, they can't even use it when they come out. So we're building our own tables, and I'm using them afterwards to help me to train up other people.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And y'all support Cassidra. You see our Cash App right there. You know what I'm saying? So y'all definitely donate and support, and all of that. Spread the word. So yeah, so Cassidra, and also you've been talking about just the healing and the stuff that's been going on, especially in this era. I know your last one about the fatherless boys and stuff like this, and all of this stuff is like connected. You know what I'm saying? To
Yeah.
this one thing, and I think that for me, just looking at it from, I'm coming up with my own stuff, but this is like what I'm going through over here, because I can see the hindsight of it, and I'm just looking at it from like a historical perspective, what led up to it. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely, that's what I'm saying. It was propaganda, but we don't ask no questions about how it was made, where this dude come from. You know what I'm saying? So this dude, Moynihan, you know what I'm saying? Now they try to be like he was a liberal, so pretty much he was like Jane Elliott of the day, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of black people use that, like, oh yeah, look at what he's saying. But what we got to realize is like, even with these documents, right? They talked about, oh yeah, that we have this mindset of a ghetto culture, and we like thugs and all of this stuff because, you know what I'm saying, whatever. But you know what? We're not savages. You know what I'm saying? That's the first thing, first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they are basing this off. Like, and that's what a lot of those so quote unquote, you know what I'm saying, abolitionists, that's their mind. Well, they are like this, you know what I'm saying, is because of slavery, Jim Crow, and all of this stuff, but they leave out, you know what I'm saying, the other thing. But did you know that consider that Moynihan was working in the White House when this report was made, right?
Yes, I knew.
Yeah.
I knew it. He was when he like Nixon's right hand man or something like that.
Yeah, Lyndon Baines Johnson, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
Ironically, the same guy who said I'll have those Negroes voting, Democratic,
And man, whatever he did, mental wise, he told the truth. He has them voting more than 300 years. It's what, 500? I mean, it's just crazy right now. We can't even get away from the Democratic Party. No matter how they treated us, no matter what they don't do for us, we still run toward them every 4 years. I'm trying to figure out what they have over us, so we can break it because it's time.
But this might be the key here, though, because this was the separation of because if you break down the family unit, the thing that keeps you strong, all other kind of institutions that flow from that, it is also destroyed. You know what I'm saying? Because when we looking at history, what people is not taking into account is, and this dude is out of New York, so he was in the Department of Labor, so they try to get a lot of these so-called quote unquote programs to help quote unquote minorities and stuff like that. But at the same time, he was saying it was the cause of welfare was the cause of would lead to family destruction, while trying to push for more welfare, which don't really make sense. Not that it was a welfare state kind of thing. I appreciate Samaji, you know what I'm saying, whatever that is. But anyway, like and the point of this, you know what I'm saying, was to, they understood, like, they're not talking about the Harlem riots of 1964. That's what I'm talking about. Like, when you look at history, a lot of those riots, because they had killed a young brother, a young black kid, you know what I'm saying, and they set the streets on fire. It was like 4 or 5 riots in New York in 1965, you know what I'm saying? And you know what it was? Black men, black women, black children together, like, yo, forget this, let's burn the city down, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just crazy how it all worked out, you know what I'm saying? So but anyway, like, it's a whole lot of things to it, but he's saying that it's all traced back to slavery and Jim Crow, which would discount a lot of the whole history of just like 3-5 years earlier, you know what I'm saying, you having the most single parent households, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna look at some of it. I guess we could just do it as they go along. And Cassidra, you could jump in whenever you want, because like yeah, you're the co-host on this one.
But
So
yeah, go ahead. You're doing good. Go ahead.
all right, what's going on, Oni? Um, uh, yeah, exactly. He was a straight up racist, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. A lot of those quote unquote liberals are, you know what I'm saying? They have always been. But you know what I'm saying, they was onto something when they was talking about the destruction of the family, you know what I'm saying, because they had to figure out how to stop all of this quote unquote violence, you know what I'm saying, because that's when they started talking about, oh, look at all these Negroes being violent, you know what I'm saying, doing all of this stuff. So check it out.
Is the author of the controversial study, The Negro Family, Mr. Daniel P. Moynihan. His report, prepared when he was Assistant Secretary of Labor, at first was warmly praised, yet has recently been sharply criticized. Mr. Moynihan, a professor of political science, is now at Wesleyan University. He was one of the...
It looked like a damn snake, like you would trust him. But black people back then was saying, oh yeah, Mr. Moynihan, and you know, all that stuff, you know, like they do with Jane Elliott today. It's crazy.
Drafters of the nation's anti-poverty program, and he has just been appointed by Mayor-elect Lindsay to the New York City Poverty Task Force. Now we'll have the first questions from Mr. Moynihan from Lawrence E. Spivak, permanent member of the Meet the Press panel.
Here's a quotation, for example, from a recent article by William Ryan, a Harvard psychologist, who criticizes your report in The Nation. And this is what he writes, quote, "The implicit point is that Negroes tolerate promiscuity, illegitimacy, one-parent families, welfare dependency, and everything else that is supposed to follow." Now, that's the criticism he makes.
Now, first and foremost, you know, all of that is not true. But what he's not going to be like, oh, that's not true. He's going to say, well, yeah, these Negroes are this way. That's the first and foremost mistake that we even make with any of this stuff. Why is he even commenting on it in the first place? But he's saying, oh, well, Negroes is just used to this and this and this, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, and, you know, like, I'm going to just keep playing.
Of your report. Now, how do you answer those charges?
I can't. I'm not responsible for the fact that he can't read. As E. Franklin Frazier said, and I quoted from him in some length, there is a lot of evidence that the Negro middle-class family, when it gets its opportunity, gets a bearing, is, if anything, more stern, more rigid than most. But the evidence is simply clear. Negro Americans live like any other Americans, and when they're forced into the ghetto and forced into disorganization, they have no more better protection than anyone else.
I'd like to ask you one specific question, which the New York Times quotes you today as saying. You say that 44% of the children in Harlem are illegitimate. Now, how do you know that?
Those are statistics in the New York City Department of Health, sir. 10 health districts in central Harlem, the area which the great American sociologist Kenneth Clark described in his HARU report as having undergone a massive deterioration of the fabric of society and its institutions, and right under our prosperous noses that happened.
Now, all of this happened within, I guess, like 2 years. Now, the thing that we should like question is, right, these statistics and where he's getting them from, you know what I'm saying? Now, he said, and he's talking about a very small district and a very small window of time, you know what I'm saying, in a very limited area, you know what I'm saying, which is most likely like New York or something like that, you know what I'm saying, because that's where he was generally was or something, I don't know, you know, but it's based off of a short period of time and all of this stuff. And what he's doing is looking at, instead of actually studying it, right, so he's going to look at the people who have children while they are not married, you know what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if you have a mother and father who live in the house, an active father, or any of that, you know. It's just looking at the data or statistics that say, well, this group of people wasn't this. And they're saying that it's this massive, you know, disruption, because now black people is at this time is burning down the streets, and they're asking them like, yo, they're just violent because of this and this. He's saying, no, they're violent because of slavery and all of this stuff. And they was really going in because they had just shot somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like in all of these cases, you know, where they was, and, you know, they had the Watts riot in LA and all of that stuff in the 1964, 1965 era. And you got to keep in mind that people like Malcolm X was still like, probably, I don't know if this was like a month before Malcolm X, you know what I'm saying? And this document was, first of all, not even well, they said it wasn't supposed to be leaked, but here he is on TV, which is in 1965 TV. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like single mother, it does not mean that there's no mother, father. It just means that quote unquote unmarried, you know. But Cassidra, you want to say something?
My understanding is, how is it that he gets to speak for Black people? We already know that they're going to downsize everything. They're never going to look at the true facts. Like you said, where did he get his numbers from? Himself? Or was it something he made up? Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was you was asking me?
No, I'm just not understanding. He's coming up with facts, but you know they lie all the time and they never come up with the true facts. So why is he allowed to speak for us? He should never be up there. Why didn't he get a Black person and interview them and say, okay, what's going on? If you really want to change something, you're going to talk to the person that it's actually happening to, and to understand their point of view. How do we fix it? What can we do? They never ask Black people, what can we do to fix it? Because they're not trying to fix it. They're trying to sugarcoat it, trying to put a Band-Aid on it, but they're never trying to fix it.
Yo, but the interesting thing is this is not necessarily true. See, now today they call this a quote unquote prophecy. But if I be like, yo, you know, one day somebody's gonna run into your house and take all of your stuff, and then I send them to do it, does that make me a prophet? You know what I'm saying? And see, he's actually talking about now. That's why we like, he's talking about 1965. Like, this has happened. This has been a rapid deterioration. And why these Negroes is they're in the street because the cop shot a young kid in the back. You know what I'm saying? Which, by the way, they wasn't just holding hands like we do today and like kneeling and stuff. They was putting in, well, they was, you know, responding like you supposed to. Yeah.
Which is what we need to do today. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. So he's looking at, you know, in a small area, and I could show, I'm not going to show it, but like if somebody asks, I got like white people like talking about how he got their numbers, you know what I'm saying? Like this white lady who tried to criticize it or whatever. But you don't have to do that because you can actually see, you know what I'm saying, like what's going on if you look at the fabric of history. And he actually looked at like younger Black women, you know what I'm saying, that's in a short, like over a couple of months, you know what I'm saying, and like somewhere in New York. That's why you like 10 public health facilities, not hospitals across America, anything. And then they bring it back to this rapid deterioration of the Black family, which has not occurred yet. This is the problem here that he's having, right? Because now is a prophecy, but this was not even the point yet. You know what I'm saying? Because in 1965, it hadn't even existed yet.
Because he was putting stuff, they were putting things in place then. They knew they had already talked to the psychologists to say, okay, what do we do? How do we bring them down? How do we stop them from progressing? Because you know, back then, black folk had their own businesses. They, you know, came out of school with trades. You didn't even have to go to college, right? And they really was doing really well. So you know, the white folk had to put their heads together and say, how can we stop these N-words from coming up, being on top of us? That's literally what they did. And that's how he knew what was going to happen, because they was already putting things in place.
And ironic, and like working for like good old LBJ, right? Lyndon Baines Johnson, who said, well, we got to find a way to stop these uppity N-words, you know what I'm saying? Well, he said niggas, you know what I'm saying? Uppity niggas, he said it, you know. And then you have reports like this happen to be released, you know what I'm saying? Then you have the quote unquote Civil Rights Act coming through, you know what I'm saying? And then we're gonna keep going, and because it's not just this, what happens after it, and we're gonna stop because I ain't gonna go into all of it, but you're gonna see like how this whole thing was. It wasn't just one thing. This is just one plan, you know what I'm saying, amongst many as far as their think tanks, you know. And anyway, so this is his case for national action, you know, apparently.
Hasn't existed for 50 years. That's happened in the last 15 years in this America. And we've been sitting around thinking things have been getting better.
And 15 years before that was 1950, which was not exactly accurate. which is why they start coming up with the highway program and all of that stuff right through the middle of these Black communities, which was continuing to thrive at this time. Now, I'm not saying all Black people was rich. It was, of course, poor Black people, people on farms and like in rural areas, you know what I'm saying? Not all Black people had money or anything like that, but you know, the family in 1950 was not, it was the most, you know, two-parent households, you know what I'm saying? Even though it was crime then too, you know what I'm saying? There's always been people that'll probably rob people throughout history and probably always will be. But when they talking about this rapid deterioration, you know what I'm saying? He's talking about from the last 15 years now. And really, he's talking about the last 2 years at this point, you know what I'm saying? Because you've got to remember, you still got people like Malcolm X walking around, like all of these revolutionary people, like for whatever you say, Martin Luther King, and all of these people are still here, you know what I'm saying? And at the same time, the White House and LBJ and them was sending messages to their wives talking about, oh, they cheating on you, or they doing this, they doing that. And they're talking about, oh, what we're going to do for the Negro family on the TV, you know.
They haven't been getting better for those children. And I think I, for one, if you see what people can face for the civil rights movement in the way of sheriffs, in the way of howling mobs, in the way of the disapproval of their entire society, well, I think I would hope, certainly I'm willing to face the disapproval of a few white liberals from Boston who think I shouldn't raise the subject because it's impolite.
Mr. Novak. Mr. Moynihan, in your report you say, quote, equality of opportunity almost ensures inequality of results, unquote. Are you proposing preferential treatment on the hiring of Negroes?
I believe this country owes the American Negro his back wages, yes.
Should the federal government support preferential treatment for Negroes then?
I believe what President Johnson said in his Howard University speech. You cannot keep a man in chains for 3 centuries and take the chains off and say suddenly, okay, you're free to run the race of life with anybody else. They have to be made, people have to be given the opportunity to compete with effective resources. And I believe that we should make a special effort.
Now, I don't know how that worked out for the people of color who got all of these resources, you know what I'm saying, which is an interesting thing. And the terminologies that we still talk about when we include everybody, you know what I'm saying? Cassidra, you want to say something on that one?
Sounded like he was talking about reparations to me.
And that's what I was about to say.
I'm just saying, and we still waiting, huh? He told you what to do. And when Nixon got in office, what did he do? He tore it up and kept doing his thing, didn't he?
But the problem with him is he was trying to say that affirmative action, you know what I'm saying, was the reparations, like that, you know, white bitches benefited the most off of, you know what I'm saying? That's what he was trying to say what it was, you know, just affirmative action, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, yo, it does, I know, you know, you could use that. But anyway, because, you know, it is true that Black people should be getting this. But check this out, though.
Completed only a few months ago, our government, which conducts detailed surveys of everything from sugar beets in Colorado to social habits in Cambodia, had never before taken a close look at the 21 million Negroes of America. Daniel Moynihan, until this summer Assistant Secretary of Labor, was in charge of the study and was staggered by it. Moynihan says the Negro family structure is collapsing, and we asked him the reasons.
The first is, remember that American slavery was the worst slavery the world has ever known. We can't get that into our heads because the standard of living of the slaves was high, perhaps. We don't see how awful it was. We deprived them of the sacraments as Christians. We deprived them of any institutions as family life. We deprived them of any rights as human beings. There's a very long and complicated history, but we did. There's no other slavery like it in history. And there was no Negro family at all in the slave world. Secondly, segregation and the great humiliation of Jim Crow was a brutal assault on the personal integrity of the Negro male. I mean, he was the man who took the brunt of it. Third, cities in the 19th century, and it wasn't a very pretty sight in New York in 1870 either, let me tell you. The families break up when they leave countrysides, rural peasant life, and sort of dump into slums. Fourthly, unemployment. We have had 35 years of disastrous unemployment, and for the Negro male. He has never gotten over the Depression. He had
Now let me tell you something, right? Because that is untrue right there. Because you know the black community actually, like I said, there was poor people, and there's always been poor people. But that black community, like as far as economic wise, and the black towns and cities that existed, right? They actually didn't get affected by the you know, the quote unquote their depression, because they was jumping out of windows and stuff. But their money wasn't tied into their system that way to where they was suffering from the Great Depression, you know, because we in our depression right now, you know, when we start giving our money up, you know what I mean? And I'll show you like what they're talking about, you know, but it's not true that, you know, that money that we gave up, you know, what he's saying is not true, you know what I mean? Cassidra, you want to say something?
You know, like you said, we go through, I mean, depression, it didn't affect us because we was used to living without. We were used to being down and out. You know, we did what we did and we pulled together. And a lot of these things that they go through, that they jump off of bridges, we get, it makes us stronger actually. It doesn't affect us the way it affects them. Even like now, yes, things are high, but still black folk used to struggle. This is making us stronger right here. You know, those are the ones that jump off the building that put their monies into, you know, stock and everything else. But we used to it. We know how to thrive through hardship. That's what we good at because we've always had to. So when you talk about a depression for us, that's not that. I mean, that was the way of life for most black folk.
Yeah. I mean, but even then though, like, because like during that time where they had their depression, that was like Black Wall Street. People know about Black Wall Street, but they had like Harlem, they had Richmond, like, which was a place where it was like thriving during this time, you know, like black people, like, you know, Maggie L. Walker and all of them, you know, like she was like here and all of that, and where they was creating a lot of banks and stuff as far as like black people go. And then like Marcus Garvey was coming in here around that time, so like they wasn't actually like I said, it was always like poor people, but their economy wasn't as tied into it, you know what I'm saying, like where they could go to each other's grocery stores or support each other's businesses where they was still okay, unlike their market, like, because they wasn't complete. Even though even being in America, you really can't get untied to it until you really control stuff, but they controlled enough stuff where they wasn't affected by, you know what I'm saying, their depressions and all of that stuff, even through all the depressions that they've had, you know, unlike today where we would be severely affected, you know. But yo, what's going on, my brother Maurice? And Miss Vita said she heard they kept most of the data from physicians who kept data reported to state, unlike private physicians who didn't report. But yeah, that's true, you know, they do that. And but that goes into like how many months he did it, the communities that he took it from, all of those things. That's just another question that adds into it, you know. So,
and for the Negro male, he has never gotten over the Depression. He had 4 fair to middling years in the Second World War, and maybe a good year in the Korean War, and that's it. It's getting better just recently. But by and large, it's been going on beyond the imagining in the white world. I mean, rates of unemployment, you know, teenage unemployment in the white world and the Negro world today is almost 25%. Can you imagine that? That is a social crime. That's an outrage. There isn't a society in the world which will let 25% of teenagers go unemployed. About a quarter of Negro families are headed by women. The divorce rate is 2.5 times what it is. And all the number of fatherless children keeps growing. And all these things getting worse, not better, over recent years. It's not a matter of a bad situation that doesn't improve, but rather a bad situation that worsens. Got to get that clear. It's getting worse. How'd you learn how to behave? From your father and your mother and your older sisters, maybe, and the people around you. Well, supposing there is no father, or if he is a father, he doesn't work, where there is no education, where there's no sense of getting ahead, where children are just brought up without any of that support.
Now, see, this is where he's telling you, like, yeah, they was probably sitting in the meeting. Well, yeah, what if they didn't have fathers or these, like, we can't have another Malcolm X, you know what I'm saying? And of course, we cannot have another black person to unify the people. And how can we do that? You know, the most vulnerable thing that you could do is hit you, you know, where it hurts is the family. Because how can you make anything out of that, you know? Yeah, affirmative action, it benefits everybody, but really us. Or he said where it hurt us is when Roosevelt introduced the minimum wage that hurt us because we lost jobs to the crackers. Yeah, and the irony is, you know, because they've always done these things like in the 1880s and stuff like that. That's when they made the unions because, you know, they used to hire the black people because they was more skilled workers and work for cheaper. So they made their unions and did not hire black people. And they talked about, oh, well, this is affecting the black community, but it wasn't because black people had the most married families, you know what I'm saying? So they was not getting their jobs, which led them to creating things like Wilmington, North Carolina, and all of that stuff, you know, all of these places that we can name, because it's not just one or two, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these cities like was thriving because of those situations. So even that whole premise is inaccurate, you know. And consider, yeah, jump in anytime.
Oh, I'm enjoying you. Go ahead. You
Okay.
working it.
Okay.
Your mother and your older sisters, maybe, and the people around you. Well, supposing there is no father, or if he is a father, he doesn't work, where there is no education, where there's no sense of getting ahead, where children are just brought up without any of that support which a family gives it, then what do you end up with? You end up a cycle reproducing itself.
A UCLA study published with the entire
on the part of the young men in this particular area of the city.
No group in our society is satisfied if for many, many years, for generations, the competitions of life always end up with them as the losers. Now, equality isn't a demand that everybody live the same. That's a flat level of existence. That's not the thing at all. What is true is a demand that, given one group of people, that you distribute success and failure and distinction and anonymity and affluence and poverty about the same way it's distributed in other groups. We've got to get men to work. A man can't run his family if he doesn't have a job.
Now he was talking about, I guess, creating this classism because, like, we can't have the rich Negroes siding with the poor ones, and we could take a few of them. Matter of fact, we can get their brightest, you know, their young brightest, and get them to come to our institutions and give them praise, and then, you know, once we ready for them to retire, we'll report about them going on all male trips and everything like they did Clarence Thomas, but they don't tell them about that part, you know. But anyway.
Same way it's distributed in other groups. We've got to get men to work. A man can't run his family if he doesn't have a job. It just starts there. Is there any secret to that? I mean, do you have to have sociologists tell this country that? No. Creating jobs for men is no secret about it. We know how to do it. We've just got to get it clear in our minds. Either we do it, or we're going to spoil this beautiful country of ours. And that means spoiling those pretty white suburbs.
Now, of course you need jobs, right? You know, of course you need jobs, but you need to actually control like your industries, you know what I'm saying? And you don't want to have a bunch of like black businesses that's like thriving or have them in a thing. You want them into your economy. You want to get their money into your economy. So, you know, I mean, you know, because I want to show you, but so that's enough of him though, because they used to have the whole interview and I seen it, but now they don't have the interview no more. All right, and this is like an argument of like two white people talking about it. I'm not gonna play it, but see, listen, this is just a couple of years earlier, right? Because I wanted to show this because it's a contradiction from what they're saying is happening. This is 1954 right here. You know what I'm saying? And he made that report in 1965, you know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, they have warfare on multiple levels, every single one, you know what I'm saying? And this is just one of them, you know, in the propaganda.
right. I said 15. Talking about a new market because it's bound to have a terrific impact on business. I'm talking about a new market, a big new market. Millions upon millions of new prospects with $15 billion to spend. That's right. I said 15 billion. That's a lot of money, isn't it? The surprising thing is that it's a fresh market, still full of opportunities. It grew up so fast, got so big in a hurry, that few of us realize its scope. Now, these days, nobody's likely to pass up chances to sell. And yet right here in our own front yard, there's a neglected market. There's money waiting to be spent. To get the story of this market, to be able to tell you the secret of selling the Negro, we did a lot of digging. We talked to leading businessmen, the customers, and the salesmen. We went to Washington, D.C. We set up cameras and other key family. Their name is Wells or Wilson, Smith or Brown or...
The thing that he was just saying doesn't exist here, you know what I'm saying? Which is just ironic. But when it comes to talking about getting our money, you know what I'm saying, it's a whole different thing. But this is what I'm saying, like, as a contradiction from their propaganda, you know what I'm saying? They're telling them to go, well, you want to tap this untapped market, you know what I'm saying? Because they are, you know, recycling their dollars and all that stuff. And we got to stop that somehow. But in one breath, you know what I'm saying, is broken homes. In another breath, you know, oh, yeah, the Negro is just like everybody else in two-parent households, you know what I'm saying? Which they were, actually, when you look at the statistics. Because all this stuff didn't happen until after what he said, you know.
Alexander or Breen. They live in Chicago, in Atlanta or New York, in Detroit, St. Louis.
Oh, yeah, and also, oh, yeah, we'll get into it, though. I'll show you.
Los Angeles, any one of 1,000 cities and towns. All over the country, families such as this are enjoying new prosperity. They have new interests, new standards of living, a buying power they've never enjoyed before. They're good prospects for practically all types of goods and services. All too often, though, they're overlooked prospects. Why? Because of some good, valid reason? No. They're overlooked because of mistaken ideas, because of out-of-date ideas about how the Negro lives and how he buys.
All right, so y'all probably seen that already, so I'm not gonna show no more just to save some time. What's going on, Raw? Shouts out to Raw in the building. Cassidra, so yo, because that contradiction, like, you know, for black, because the dude was saying, well, it's not necessarily an economic thing, it's because of Jim Crow and slavery. So like black people is just innately like this, you know what I'm saying? Which came from the fact that they was like going at it with the police, you know what I'm saying? They had to find a way to tame them down, you know. And one of the key ways is to break up that, especially remove the male from the household. But you seen what the household was talking about. What do you think about this one, Cassidra?
Sure. See, you have to understand they always lie. Every time they open their mouth, they can never. They just lie. That's what they do. They're liars, and I mean all of them. And when people are not understanding who their enemies are, then you're gonna trust the ones that smile in your face and all the time they're doing what? Trying to take your place, right? Backstabbers. They never changed. These are who they were in the past, and they're still the same people. But we have to understand their tactics, and we're not learning their tactics. Because this was in 54 and then 65, and we're still in the same predicament. We're still, but guess what? In 65, they was getting things under control because they was whooping up on their behinds. So now we're doing all this marching, and what's happening? Absolutely nothing. Nothing is changing. We keep doing the same stuff over and over and get no results. But we keep doing it just because it makes no sense. And they know about everything they did, they planned it, and then they look at us and point fingers like it's our fault. We didn't have any help to get here. You put drugs in our neighborhood. You took jobs from our husbands. Okay, you divided the family. And then they want to point the finger and say, why they act like that? Why didn't black folk act like that? And then we put our children in their schools, and now our children acting a fool. Then you look at our kids and say, see, look at them. What did they call them? What did Hillary call them? Predators. What did Hillary call them back in the day? She called them predators? Was that what she called them?
Yeah, super predators.
Super predators, right? But you wanted her and voted her and wanted to vote her in office. This same woman that called your child a predator. See what I'm saying? So they'll look at you and do things important, put stuff in your neighborhoods, and then they want to point their fingers and say, that's not our fault. That's their fault. Look at them. Look how wild they are. Look at them. Really? I just can't deal with them. I pass my mic.
Yeah, and shouts out to Viral Drip in the building. Yes, and that's the thing, and with these communities, that's what I was going back to, where before then, there were these successful Black communities where you go there, you get like, my grandma did it where she could go there, she opened up multiple businesses and all of this stuff. And she was in the 1940s, you know what I mean? She was married with my grandfather, and I'm sure a lot of us have that story where our grandmothers and grandfathers were actually together. And then it happened to be like these next coming generations, like he might have been taught, I don't know what he was talking about besides what they was planning on doing. But once they have these communities and you build the highways through them, because that was probably the most damaging thing other than quote unquote burning them down, because they couldn't just roll up in Black communities. You go all throughout history, 1940s, 1950s, what I'm saying, 1960s, the year before this happened, right? You go in the Black community, you hurt somebody, Black people was liable to burn the city down. You know what I'm saying? They was liable to get the person who did it. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, they realized to do that would be to the best way to stop all of this would be to not only stop the revolutionary spirit that you got coming out, not only stop the economic power, whatever economic power they do have, and the will to protect themselves, even if it's in their own communities. The best way to do that would be to divide the families and have them arguing amongst each other. You know what I'm saying? So in everything that you heard that white dude saying, right? Like, I want anybody to show me a clip before 1965, which was that date, of Black men and Black women on TV or doing some arguing, blaming each other, downing each other, or not working together. You're gonna find like people like Malcolm X, like protect the Black woman and all that kind of stuff. And again, yeah, were there pimps back then? Yeah, there were, you know what I'm saying? But we talking about the Black community like we see it today, you know what I'm saying? Show me where you see Black men and Black women arguing like he quote unquote predicted, but he wasn't trying to predict nothing. He just said the rapid deterioration. How could he know that when the kids is like 2? Oh, come on, how could you know that? Unless that's the plan.
Exactly. How did he know that? Because they had the plan. They knew, they had already talked to psychologists and stuff. But back in the day, we had neighborhoods. We had our mom pop shops. We owned homes. We owned land. They saw the money that we was bringing in. They saw that. You think they didn't see that? And they thought, well, how can we tap into that? How can we, and that's when divide and conquer came in. Because when those two people was, Black mom and Black dad working together, they was making it. They was making their bills and they was doing what needed to be done. So how do I stop that? I come between those two and I divide the money. Got to divide the money up in order, because as you know now, look at the single mom struggling, didn't understand the power that she had when she stayed together with her husband. And that's the way it should have always been. But then we, other stuff started getting dangled. And we started losing focus because we started trusting people that our ancestors told us not to trust. Our ancestors divided from them doing slavery and after slavery for a reason. What did we do? We thought, oh, they don't know anything. We're going to come back together with them because somebody came and said, I had a dream, who was being paid by the government to bring Black folk back up under them. I don't care what nobody say. Y'all not going to tell me that MLK was not, you ain't gonna tell me that he knew what he was doing. He knew it. I passed my.
Yeah, spot on, Cassidra. I mean, my computer messing up. All right, so look, check this out. Now, this is supposed to be from like 1970. Now, this dude right here, I don't care. I'll show it anyway, but it's on you, Cassidra. But you see this white dude right here? This dude always used to flag my channel, right? Because apparently you own and monetize quote unquote Black issues and the stuff that we have. And as my brother Maurice would say, crackers got a way of monetizing our oppression and trying to block us from even using it to talk about our issues, with these so-called liberals. But
exactly.
So I don't care. You think I should play it though? Consider it's on you because they might try to take it down, but I don't really care.
Well, I don't know because they took a couple of my videos down from Sunday. I did the family thing, so I don't know. It's make your better judgment.
I think it's more important because he can't really do nothing, but they could do what they want to do, but it's also important, you know what I'm saying? Because this is the other people have shown this argument and other people, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I know they could do that to our channel, but I don't really care. But I think this is important that we see this argument because this is what we're doing today. And this is from 5 years later, after the fact. I'm trying to see it before the fact for him to be making these predictions and arguments for predictions for the black community. And then we have black men today using it against black women and black women using it against black men as if this didn't even come from within our community in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who did a couple of months of study from the outside using whatever sources that he deemed sources to make a quote unquote leaked document come from the White House where the dude said, hey, I'll have these niggas from Democrat for the next 200 years. You know what I'm saying? But I guess we'll leave all that stuff out. But you know what? Because listen to what they say. I'm only gonna play this part where they
argue.
Don't
play it. Go ahead and play it.
About what the new black man expects from the new black woman came when I met with a group of young unmarried friends one Saturday afternoon.
All of a sudden, right, the new black man and new black woman 5 years later, right? And this is on TV. By the way, because this is another point, who they allow on TV and what they record and what they play and which became reality in a lot of our communities, let's face it, because other things came later. But it's important that we look at all the aspects that, happen, But check it out.
Came when I met with a group of young unmarried friends one Saturday afternoon.
I think that what's happening in America as far as black men, black women is concerned is that there's a revolution within a revolution. We are fighting our own woman. Our woman will not allow us to emerge as black men. No. But our black women, who has been put in this role of aiding white America, white structure, and castrating the black male, has continued doing this. She cannot live with us. It's not the...
Now, are any of these arguments familiar, Cassidra?
It sounds like today. I'm just saying. It sounds just like today's argument. But see, Forecast, this is help. See, we're not learning their tactics. They'll rewrap it and they'll call it something new. And this is why, if we're educating our own, we can bring stuff up like this. We can solve our own problems, but we keep allowing them to put their hand in it every time we think we're going to do something different or do something for our own. We allow them to put their hands in it again.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I rest my
mic. And that's another thing, too, about... Because people throw around the term agents and stuff, and I get it, you know what I'm saying? There's paid agents and people who act on behalf on purpose. And this is on purpose because he's being I can't say he's being paid for this, but the propaganda that you push, and now we do it for free all up on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, where we'll just say this.
Mm-hmm. And then we allow other people to come in and tell you what to think. You'll hear it from one person and God knows where they got it from, probably a white friend or a white channel that they visited, and then they come and bring it to a black channel and then they spread it. And we need to hear stuff one time and we'll suck it up and we run with it, not even understanding where did it come from. Just like Biden, what did he do? He used Cardi B, the worst, nasty little whatever you want to call her, and he goes and talks to this nasty girl about black people. She said she's not even black. You remember that? And then he brought it to the black community, to us, and we started running with the stuff that was coming out of her mouth. What? We have to do better. We have to, you guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a fact, And like I was saying, this is from the 1970. I'm like, yo, show me these talking points from black men and black women, right? And I'm not even saying black men and black women didn't argue. Hell, we probably had arguments from the dawn of time, right? But their arguments is damn sure not our argument. That's what's keeping us on this dysfunctional loop where black men is still saying the same thing, black women is still saying the same thing, and at a time where this was not the norm. You know what I'm saying? Even in 1970, you had a lot of revolution, like Stokely Carmichael, you know what I'm saying? For what is, because it was more than the Black, but everybody know the Black Panthers, you know what I'm saying, for context reasons. Because like Wakari points out, you know, the Black Panthers that was down in Alabama, Mississippi, you know what I'm saying, where Stokely Carmichael went to. But the Deacons of Defense, all of these things existed at this time, you know what I'm saying? And I'm asking people to show me where you hear these arguments or talking points from Black people. Like we seen where it come from, where the white boy, he was probably the first one to say stuff like this. And then we start seeing all of this ghetto mom, the ghetto culture, hood rat single mom stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, and where Black men and Black women had these talking points. And I want anybody to show me beforehand, because I can tell you where some of the arguments that they was having, you know what I'm saying? Not that, because we won't have an arguments, you know. And I'll tell you one, like Ida B. Wells wrote about it, you know, because the preachers, the Black men preachers was being promiscuous, let's just say, you know what I'm saying? And they was cheating on their wives and doing all this stuff. So Ida B. Wells wrote an article, you know what I'm saying, putting them on blast. And so the preachers, the men preachers got on her like, yo, we're going to tell everybody stop supporting you if you write this article. But she did it anyway, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I'm saying, this kind of stuff. But you don't hear this argument here at all. You know what I mean? But
not live with us. It's not that we can't live with her.
Are you blaming us? Are you saying that it's our fault that this happened?
No, I'm not blaming Black America women. I just said that I'm blaming the system. They are victims of the system like the black male.
Well, why do you say that we are castrating you? You say that you want to be the leaders. Okay, well, what about the Black professional woman? Are you saying that there should be no Black professional woman? Are you trying to deny Black women the right to be creative, the right to function?
We're not asking for you to take a back seat. We're saying that you have got to be astute enough and can view the situation well enough where you just automatically know what your role is and step back. And whenever you want to have that aggressive thing, this is the thing that the young Black man today is not going to tolerate. My old man tolerated it because his old man tolerated it. It came up for years and years and years. But today, the young Black man is not going to take it. He's going to be out there as a leader. White America has used Black women to keep the Black male in his place. And you're still aiding them by saying, well, we are qualified, we want to work, we can help.
Okay, how are you going to reprogram men so that they don't let us take over what's supposed to be their responsibility? And men that I have had dealings with, they are perfectly willing to sit back and let us do anything we want to.
I don't think that you have to reprogram men. I think you have to reprogram women.
No, you have to reprogram the man so that he will forcefully take what belongs to him, because you know women, as long as we can get, we're gonna get, and it's part of our being. We're going to do anything to you that you let us, whether we want to or not.
You don't want to live on the level of income that I can afford you and love me on the basis of that. You want to always be inspired to have all those things that's a part of the great middle class white American society. And because I can't deliver these things to you, you say that you are not a man.
I don't measure a man by how much money he can bring home. I measure a man by how he treats me. Whether when I'm tired and I'm sick and I'm scared, he's there.
For these women, the men are...
All right, so Cassidra, what you think about that?
Oh boy, that same argument. Oh God, what in the world? My thoughts are this, and I know a lot of women, men probably are not going to like this. God left our men in charge, okay? He put you guys on a throne. And however, whatever happened, I see men off the throne. How do we get them back on the throne, or how do we get them to want to be on the throne? And that, I think that's what she's saying. She's like, hey, you guys have to want to be on the throne. Okay. Women will do what you allow them to do. But men, it's almost like they want to blame women. And I'm just saying, from what I'm seeing, it's almost like we want to blame each other, and nobody's to blame because everybody's out of place. And it's not because of either one. It's because of the system. If we step back and look at the system, how do we get here? We didn't get here by ourselves. The system helped our men by promoting the women, to make more money. Okay, let's put the blame where it belongs, and the blame belongs on the system. The women came in making more money, and the men lost their jobs. So then they dropped drugs, So it was not. We had help. That's all I want. We had help getting here, but until we get to the point where we're not blaming each other and we fix the problem, this is the same conversation that we'll have for the next 30 years. So it don't. Who gives a damn who did what? Let's get back in place. Men, take your positions. Women, take your positions under your man, because that's where he belongs. And let's make this thing happen. What are we leaving to our children? That's the question we need to be asking, because right now we are in a 911. And from the generations that's coming now, it's going to be a mess. If we don't rein some stuff in, and if we don't get it back together, it's going to be a mess for our children.
Man.
Yo,
that's facts. And the thing is, right, because he mentioned, as a man, you don't let nobody else, like, you do what you do, you know what I'm saying? And like, whoever is there, whoever follow you, like, not everybody's gonna follow you. Some people is gonna be scared to say certain things, and what we got to recognize, like, see, that's why I was asking before then we had men like Malcolm X walking around, and that, I'm not saying that we didn't have, John Lewis is walking around either, what I'm saying, no disrespect to, him, but like, you've seen Black men willing to step up and take certain roles, and you've seen the support that they had with it was Black men, women, and children, whether I agree or not, what I'm saying, even with the integration stuff, out there protesting for integration, but more so than what they don't tell you, it was Black men and Black women in these militias and these revolutions all throughout history. Every time that it was time for a revolution, the down people was down, and you may have one or two sellouts, but most of the people was down. So they don't talk about the strong male leadership. But now, after Malcolm X get killed, we still have people like, after what they did to Malcolm X, who gonna do? That was 40 something years ago, and we still like, who is gonna take the next position? Like, it's nobody else that's ever gonna take that position until you are ready to step up and be like, enough is enough. You know what I'm saying? And the people that's gonna be down is gonna be down. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to worry about any of that. But now we don't have those talking points, because then you start seeing stuff like this getting televised, you know what I'm saying? Where you see like these arguments and whoever participated in them, and we see that whether this particular divide is coming from, but this wasn't always the case. This happened to be a new thing, unless you can show me these talking points from Black men and Black women to each other before this point, you know what I'm saying? But so check. I'm only gonna play a few minutes of these other stuff. I want to show you some.
13 miles from Paul Bullitt's home is a public house.
Because this is where you start seeing all this stuff about the welfare and the fatherless families. And the 70s, the drugs start changing to like that addictive stuff, because there was Black drug dealers in the 40s, all right, but the stuff they was taking was not the same, you know what I'm saying? And then we know the crack epidemic in the 80s, but that's another episode, you know what I'm saying? But the drugs and all of this stuff, once you got people in a concentrated area, right? And I always be like, hindsight is 2020, but if you got a starving baby like that's hungry, and Black men, because if you look on TV and all of that stuff, they was protesting, talking about, can we get jobs? It's like 5 jobs for Negroes in Philadelphia, and it's however many thousands or millions Black men there competing for that one job, right? So when you got a crying baby and then you go to like, whatever, that's hindsight. But like now I'll be like, no, don't take that deal no matter what. And a lot of people did not, you know what I'm saying? Because there's I want you to, there's other stuff to it, you know what I'm saying?
Housing project in familiar red brick, Perry Homes. It is like most such projects in most big cities. And cemented into the red brick are a series of public policies that work against the children of the poor. Because housing for the poor is scarce, the 1,100 apartments hold not the officially registered 6,000, but with unofficial residents, relatives, and friends, more like 8,000. Because mothers travel up to 4 hours a day to work in downtown office.
See, this is the other thing, because once the dad is out the house, the mom usually is out the house too, you know what I'm saying? Usually working or doing whatever she can, you know what I'm saying? Because that was another part of it. So now you have children just in the house on their own, you know what I'm saying? And this is not the case in a lot of it, but like this is where we start to see the change, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this is what I'm trying to tell you. You go back to like 1965, you know, it was when Malcolm X got killed. It was a lot of these social programs that they introduced, you know what I'm saying? It was a lot of the riots that even though they were still rioting, but by the 70s, you know what I'm saying, we start seeing more situations like this where they had like the projects and all of this stuff. And you know, it took the moms out of the house just as much as the fathers because they was out working. And you hear a lot of the people that I grew up with, because it affected people older than me, but really in my generation, they try to call us the crack babies, but you know, y'all was the crackheads, for whoever say that. But anyway, you know, they took us, like, I realized, like, they were like, yo, my mom works, so I had to come home, do this, do that for myself, instead of having a structure to come home to. And then a lot of people start skipping school, you know, started getting involved in the streets, you know what I'm saying, because it goes back to the economic part, which we also lost during this time. But
buildings or suburban homes, their children are left to care for each other or for themselves, and drug abuse is rampant. Because family planning measures have lagged, there are many teenage mothers. Do you find that there is schools have reading levels among the lowest in the city? Because Perry Homes was planned on a minimum budget, there are few places for children to play.
Oh yeah, another thing that affect black male teachers, you know what I'm saying, black teachers as a whole, because I've had some black women as teachers, but I've rarely had a black man as a teacher. There was a lot of black male teachers in the 50s and this, you know, early 60s, you know what I'm saying, up until this point, you know, and they was teaching quote unquote revolution. And that's like the 60s in that era might have been the last time we was as close to defeating. Now I'm like, we doomed almost, you know, but I still got faith, so I ain't gonna keep saying that. But you know, the 60s, the early 60s was the last time that you was as close to that revolution. You know, I had Malcolm X going over there trying to unite black people in America with them, and then of course they had to take them out, and you know, but yeah, exactly, Ron. You want to say something, Cassidra?
Yeah, I remember back in they took the dads and a lot of the black men out of the educational system to, you know, and that was all part of the plan, because take all male role models out of the way, take all the male mentors out of the picture, and you got a bunch of wild boys, period, because men regulate things. That's why they took them out of the home, because the homes were regulated with men in the homes. And we as women cannot, I don't care what you say, we cannot teach a boy how to be a man. We cannot. I don't care who said they mama raised him and I'm good. No, you're not, because the head wasn't there. So if the head is not there, something's missing. And it was that male role model. And that's why they stopped allowing men to be educators, because they wanted to take the photo of the man totally out of the picture. They didn't want him to have no involvement with the male child at all.
Yeah. And yeah, because that's dangerous, you know. And
exactly.
And like I said, that was the last time you heard like revolutionary speak. But now, like you were saying, like if a black man, you talk about a gun, a black man be like, oh Lord, you know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, even just on these programs on here, you know what I'm saying, when I talk to like, it's the sisters who actually have programs going on that's really trying to do something. And a lot of the brothers like, oh man, we don't need to be doing this. We don't need to be doing this like stuff. And they don't have nothing going on. I can see if we got something going on, but a lot of us just like to tell other people what to do. You know what I'm saying? And I see actually sisters like trying to create stuff and talking about, you know what I'm saying, black stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's just the platforms I've been on myself, you know.
Well, black women want to get the family. I'm not going to say all. I'm just saying older ones. Okay, now the younger ones, I don't know. I just don't even know what to say about them. But I do believe that the older women like myself, we dropped the ball, because right now you can't tell a young woman anything right now. I mean, they won't listen at all. And that was our job. That was our job to, you know, to teach our young girls. And we were working. We came out the homes because the men weren't there. And then when the men were there, we still wanted to work full time. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of dropped the ball. And as you see from the 65 to 73, things changed. You had more single women now. You had more, like the man just said, and this was in 75. No, that's in 73. You had more of the Black single mothers and teenage pregnancies, right? That's because you took the mom out the home, you took the dad out the home. Now the mom's working 12 hours, so the kids are alone, right? Doing what they want to do, raising themselves, and they've taken the authority away from the parent. So now you got babies having babies. So that's where it all started, right here.
Yep.
I rest my mic.
And like I said, man, and it's interesting that I don't know where he got this evidence from, you know what I'm saying? Because none of this stuff existed until I saw that, report in 19. So show me something from 64, 60. You can go to, December 31st, 1964. Show me something like this prior to that, And Ross said, nature made a unit, a man not a man without a woman, and vice versa. Right? It's together. There's a reason why it takes a man and a woman to have a child. You know what I'm saying? If they didn't be like, yo, a woman can have a baby, or whatever you believe in, I don't want to disrespect nobody. That a woman can't have a baby by herself. A man damn sure can't have a baby. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And if he is having a baby, then that's not a real. I'm just saying. If you a man having a baby, looking with whole full beard, I guarantee you he was a woman before he was a man. I'm just saying. There's no way. But yeah, you didn't see any of this before the 1970s at all. You didn't see this in 65. You didn't see this in the 60s. You had families. And until they, did the drugs and took the jobs away from our men in the 70s, and like 75, then you started seeing more of the single women, the teenage pregnancies and stuff. But that was because the moms and the men, they were out of the home. Nobody was taking care of the kids. Nobody, we couldn't. They worked 12-hour jobs, 12 hours for white folk, but they was taking care of their babies and leaving yours at home. How much sense did that make? Now you got to go and work like a dog when you had a man there that was, and that was a time for Black folk to come together and continue building our communities. Yeah. Continue building the mom and pop shops, continue building the car repair shops. And you know what I'm saying? But we weren't thinking about we weren't thinking about it. We was thinking about working for white folk. That's what the mindset was. That was the teaching we got. Work for them. And look where it got us.
Yeah.
I rest my mic.
Yeah, and I'll also add, if a man bleeds for like 7 days, you better go to the hospital, bro. So that's all I'm gonna say. Oh yeah, let me show the rest of it. All right. Like 2 minutes.
Because of the same kind of planning, Perry Homes has no doctor, no dentist, no pharmacy.
You hear that?
Nearby. Because of the same kind of planning, Perry Homes has no doctor, no dentist, no pharmacy. Nearby, there is a well baby clinic, but no sick baby clinic. And the sick must travel 12 miles to wait for attention at Grady Memorial Hospital. And partly because of the general rule that welfare is cut off if there is a man in the house, fathers are often driven away so that mother and children can eat.
85% of the head of household is a woman, because most of the...
No, that's not true. It's not even true today that 85% is head of the household, but the terminology they use to make it seem like that, and then which causes a divide, you know what I'm saying? And of course, like, if you don't have control over access to ways to protect yourself, like you do have to suffer the consequences of not being able to protect yourself. Because I can guarantee you, right, if I was married, somebody breaking my house and do something to my woman, I just stand there and be like, cry with her afterwards. She probably gonna lose a little bit of respect for me. There's no way that I can be walking the same earth as this dude at the same time. You know what I mean? So things gotta come with consequences.
And it bothers me how I'm listening to them, and they said the man couldn't be in the house. But guess what? Nowadays, they still doing this to our young Black women with the Section 8. But guess what? The foreigners that's coming over here, they get to have their whole families in the home. The Chinese, the Indian, their families are living with them, and they're getting welfare and EBT and all this other stuff. They never mandated them to leave their families, but they mandated Black folk, and we fell for it. That's the sad part about it. And we still falling for it today. Go ahead.
Yeah, and they was built off welfare, you know what I'm saying? That's how they built the quote unquote white middle class, is all welfare, you know what I'm saying? And they even benefited more from this kind of welfare, affirmative action, like the dude was just talking about. Guess who benefited the most? White bitches, you know what I'm saying? Because they call themselves a minority, even though they have the largest population and the largest voting group and the most on welfare and the most on public assistance, all of that stuff, you know what I'm saying? But they get to benefit the most from what they have at the same time. You know what I mean?
In the House rule was written to prevent welfare cheating, to make sure that aid...
Then 3 months, which you do in the summer when...
Don't listen to this lady.
The man in the House rule was written to prevent welfare cheating, to make sure that aid to families with dependent children would go only to families headed by mothers. But the effect of the man in the House rule is to create for children an atmosphere of investigation and surveillance, and thus the welfare system in its operation turns out to be a system to make life harder for children.
The welfare system helps the disintegration of the American family. It offers money to families if the...
And woefully inadequate even to that. Money comes from a federal government apparently less interested in the children than in freeing welfare mothers for work, and woefully inadequate even to that end. Elsewhere in Atlanta, in schools like Cook Elementary, the state of Georgia has tried setting up daycare centers, but federal support is drying up. When we were here, there were 158 children, 6 days to 6 years old. Since then, the number has been cut back to 89. 12 other Atlanta schools have had to eliminate infants and toddlers from their daycare plans. And that will make it harder for mothers of the very young to go to work or to school. Atlanta is typical of what is happening around the country. Model daycare centers that remain.
Now, we talk about how it's a cycle and stuff like this. It's like, yo, it's a textbook system that is working the way that it's supposed to. Not only do you start seeing this as your as prior to like 10 years earlier in 63, you would never, well, you may see it. No, you would never see it, because you know what?
No,
they had
you
to
would never
like,
see that.
yeah, you would never see it. They had the little girl Ruby Bridges where they was calling her N-word trying to go into the school, you know what I'm saying? So no. But then again, I don't know, black people would let any white person come into their schools and teach. I ain't gonna sleep on that's us today. So I'm also speaking from us. But this is where you start to see all of this stuff going on, in addition to keeping that cycle going on, like where you have the mothers like working, and then of course you starting to introduce drugs, which is going to start hitting hard in a few more years, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then of course, you know, you have that old feminism propaganda that we always hear and talk about coming out at the same time, you know. And this is where all these welfare tropes and stereotypes, because before this you didn't really hear that, because you know why? Black people didn't get no damn welfare, right? You know what I'm saying? And they had to go benefit on their own. So all of this stuff is where you start seeing all of this develop, and it was strategic, you know what I'm saying? Like just a few years after, like 9 years after the black people burning down the street, now not only do you have the father out, you have the mother working, and you have white bitches taking care of your children all day, you know what I'm saying? And teaching them that Christopher Columbus discovered America, you know what I mean? So it's crazy.
Good as they may be, scarce as they are, such daycare centers are geared more to a work ethic than a child ethic. That has been the history of daycare in this country. Crash programs in time of emergency like war to free mothers for work, and swiftly wound down when the emergency was over. Now daycare is...
Ain't that something? Like, that don't even look right. They had to use black women to even be able to make sure their children didn't die in the womb, you know what I'm saying? But now, this just looks disgusting, man. It's crazy. Crazy where we come to, right? So check out this other one, right? Because this is also 1973, right? Where they tried to do the forced sterilization of welfare mothers. You know what I'm saying? They still try to introduce that. But all of this was part of programming and all of that too, you know. But they tried to make these black women get abortions, even though they tried to, well, not abortions, but sterilization. And they also did a lot of stuff like, because the sister Fannie Lou Hamer talked about the Mississippi hysterectomy, you know what I'm saying? how they used to do that all the time.
Secretary Casper Wise in the United States. Those who support sterilization today see it as one means of easing the problem spawned by overpopulation and dwindling resources. It is not a question of improving the breed, they say. We just don't want so many babies, especially not so many among the poor, and certainly not babies born to mental defectives. They point out that we already have 6.5 million retarded, that almost 8 million children have to get financial support from the government, and that we cannot afford more. At least that is the view of some who have studied sterilization for a long time. One such is Dr. H. Curtis Wood of Philadelphia. Pricing compulsory sterilization for persons classified mentally defective. And now some state lawmakers see compulsory sterilization in South Carolina.
Of his responsibility in this fatherless, illegitimate children.
Right.
Then, and she puts them on public welfare that you and I got to pay the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Then she has to submit to sterilization.
And so you're saying to those that are getting the free ride, if you have illegitimate kids, or if a father walks away from his kids that he's fathered, sterilize them.
Yeah, if he doesn't take care of it, if he doesn't want to take care of his responsibility in this world.
Sterilize the man, sterilize the woman if she's had more than 2 illegitimate children.
Right.
If she's on welfare.
Absolutely, if the government pays the bill.
This is not a racially aimed bill.
No, negative. Oh, no. No, we have more whites in the problem than we have blacks.
More whites on welfare.
I'd say so.
And more illegitimate children being born among welfare whites than blacks.
Because they're...
Ain't that something? Because that contradicts that whole argument he was saying earlier.
But guess what? They never did it, did they? Not like he was talking about, because it was more white folk on welfare than it was blacks. If it was more black folk on welfare, they would have done it. They would have implemented the, more of the abortions or whatever. But this shows you who was on welfare the most. It was made for white people. And black folk just happened to be, around to get it. But before, for real, welfare was created for them.
Yeah. And, he said more eligible, because that goes against that whole talking point, too. So somebody's lying here. One of these white people is lying, or maybe they both lying. So I don't know. It's hard to use them, right? But you heard them.
You already know every time they open their mouth. You already know. Go ahead.
Damn. I was trying.
For illegitimate children being born among welfare whites than blacks.
Because there's more of us.
Oh, yeah.
I see.
Yeah, we know. So, but check this out, right?
True to you.
This was interesting, right? Now this is 1986, because now it's 21 years later, right? And the black family still vanishing, because you know what happened in 1986, right? Or I think 1984 or 1985 or 1986. Private prisons was first privatized, meaning they made profits off of prisons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all of them contracts came out like I think it was 1984.
84.
So like,
crime deal. Yep. 84.
And the vanishing black family, right? Because now this 21 years later, and this would be an adult by now, but the black family's still vanishing.
It's 18 after the hour. These last 20 years have seen some meaningful gains for this nation's more than 26 million black citizens. But the black family, as an institution, has been pulled further and further apart. This is the subject of a CBS Reports documentary, which is going to air tomorrow night. It is called The Vanishing Family: Crisis in Black America. It is reported by CBS News correspondent Bill Moyers. He joins us this morning to talk about the program. He's brought along some excerpts.
He said 20 years before that it was a crisis that was he used the word like it was happening immediately, deterioration of the black family. But here it is 21 years later. It's like they still trying to figure out ways. Oh, maybe we can introduce this thing called crack into the community in 86 and 87 and all that, Well, it's already in there, but you know what I mean.
It was big time then.
Mm-hmm.
It was big time then. That's the saddest part. No programs. Everybody went to jail. Everybody got 20, 25, 30 years. Years. You still got people in jail from the 80s. They still in jail now. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right, so let me hurry up so I can
so that we can get a sense of what the documentary is about. Now, in this first one, we're going to hear from a girl who, the essence of the report is that the black family, particularly in those poor ghettos, is continuing to be torn asunder. And I have remarked, as I've been reading what people have said about the documentary, that among black citizens and white citizens, there is surprise to hear this information.
Yes, this is an issue that we swept under the rug back in the 1960s when it was first raised. It was the time of the pitched civil rights battles trying to defeat Jim Crow and end official discrimination, and blacks felt that to raise this kind of issue now would play into the hands of the white segregationists. But in fact, over the last 25 years,
now you hear that, right? Because he was like, yeah, they raised it up during the time of like revolution, because he tried to be like civil rights and all that stuff, like we say today, but they was burning stuff down, right? But he was saying, you know, well, this comes at a time where we was like working, like, you know, we had to figure it out. And then he said black leaders didn't want to talk about this problem because they didn't want to make white people mad. Like, that's really what he said.
Racial discrimination, and blacks felt that to raise this kind of issue now would play into the hands of the white segregationists. But in fact, over the last 25 years, the number of children living with single women, the number of children without fathers, the number of women trying to make it on their own out in the inner city ghettos, these numbers have increased astronomically until the University of Chicago study predicts that if the present trend continues, and it is continuing, by the year 2000, just 14 years from now, over 70% of all black families in this country will be headed by a single woman, and only 30% of black men will be employed. That's a devastating situation.
You know,
now I guess it took 20-something years, and if you notice, that's a generation, you know what I'm saying, where it takes a generation. Like, if you raise your children up on some revolutionary stuff in 20 years, you know what I'm saying, you probably gonna get the results of some revolutionary stuff, you know. And 20 years after this, then you start seeing these problems in the black community, you know what I'm saying. Like, he acting like they swept it under the rug, but it was them talking about what they was really doing, you know what I'm saying, what really happened, you know. And like I said, like, if you want to affect somebody, then you make sure that you take them out, you know what I'm saying, you make sure that by the time the next generation, it only takes one generation to change a mindset of a group of people, you know what I'm saying. And by this time you start seeing it, and now he's like, oh, well, it raised to devastating effects, you know what I'm saying. But he was trying to say it was devastating back then, which was a clear lie, you know what I'm saying. But by this time, yeah, it was becoming pretty devastating, you know.
They knew in 1965 what to do. Then that Moynihan Report come out. They knew exactly what to do. But did they do anything? No, they did it on purpose. And then they want to point the fingers and now act like they really care when they did it. This is what they do. They'll create the problem and then want to come up and act like they're coming up with a solution, which is not a solution. I don't see a solution even still today. Go ahead, 4Kids.
Yeah, thanks.
You know, one of the most powerful lines from the documentary is what you say about how in 2 centuries, the black family could not be torn apart, but it is being done in 1 generation. And I wonder if that's because it has a certain impetus. If you were raised by a single parent, you may be more inclined to continue that.
The ghetto is a cage, and its walls are mirrors, and the mirrors reflect back to the people living there the behavior that they're experiencing. So a child grows up with no role model as a father in the house. A child grows up with a mother on welfare and assumes that's the norm. A peculiar normalcy has taken over in these precincts of America and is repeating itself. Own rules, own regulation, feeds on itself. A vicious, violent cycle has begun.
No, he's talking about a vicious and violent cycle, but he himself just said, you know, after 200 years, the black family has been destroyed, you know what I'm saying, was indestructible, but then in 1 generation, it has been destroyed, you know what I'm saying, and now it's on this violent cycle. But now we probably on 2 generations, but you know what, I see the younger generations being more involved, especially even the people of my age, because they were the people without their father. And you know what, so a lot of them knew their fathers, but they may have been like living somewhere else or something, you know what I'm saying. Some of their fathers got locked up for stuff, you know what I'm saying, like, because, you know, everything was a damn crime against black people, but most people wasn't even like that, you know. But all of these generations, you know, even in the generation coming up, they're more involved in their stuff. So like, we're going to eventually right back like right what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Even during slavery, they try to act like we wasn't family, like there was black families living together. The only thing they could sell your damn children. And that's another thing that we talk about, you know, like you can't let somebody do that and you still be living and you scared to say something or do something about it. Like they took everything already. Like, what are we scared of? You know what I'm saying? Like the point is they declare war, and the number one thing you want to do to destabilize a country is to destroy their governing system. And with us, the one you want to be effective, you destroy the family unit, because you can't build economies that way. You can't build unity that way. You can't be raise your children to be in the right way. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole point of what they're doing. And now you have for-profit prisons at this time, you know what I'm saying? So now you locking up black people, giving them football numbers for like non-violent drug offenses. And then you say, well, look how violent they are. And this thing of what come back to that sense of the violent black person, you know what I'm saying? Where, you know, they said we was crazy for running away from slavery. That person is considered crazy. But I wish we were half as violent as they say that we are, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly. If we would, things wouldn't be the way they were. Because they know doggone well what they've done to us. People making millions off of off of these different private corrections. They're making millions. $100 per inmate per day. That's millions of dollars that they're making off of black men.
And the whole time we got black women like on, like, quote unquote, on their system, but we all in their system, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I mean? And black children like are being manufactured as we send them to public schools, you know what I'm saying? So to get their coon chip installed, you know what I'm saying, properly.
Yes. And look at the devastation of our children right now. Our children didn't act nothing like they act today. Look how long it took. We've allowed them to destroy our children. Every time we take them to their schools, it's almost like we're sacrificing our children to their God. And we don't even understand. We know how they treat us on our jobs, but every day we had the audacity to drop our children, knowing that how they treated our children, how they treated you on their jobs. And then you turn around and let them have your child by themselves. Are you crazy? Something's very wrong with this picture. We saw how when Ruby Bridges walked in that school by herself and how these grown people treated a baby. Can you imagine how they treated her by herself inside of that class with no supervision, no parents around? Who in their right mind would send their 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, 6-year-old into a school like that by themselves? That's ludicrous. That just made absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, so it's cause let me hurry up, because it's like I want you to see something that's important to like wrap it up too, you know what I'm saying? But I think he's gonna say like one more important thing, because like I said, we had to do a thorough investigation of it, you know.
The interesting thing, as you indicated, is that in 1960, 3 out of 4 black children had 2 parents at home. Today,
in 1960, 3 out of 4 black children. So what the hell is Moynihan, quote unquote, Moynihan Report about then?
Thing, as you indicated, is that in 1960, 3 out of 4 black children had 2 parents at home. Today, almost 60% live with 1 parent.
I must get to another, we only have a little time, and I want to get to this. Children having children. This is one of the young fathers, a young boy.
There are some small signs of hope. The wonderful thing is that they were very open with me. They were very candid with me. They received me almost with biblical hospitality, even though I was white. I'm the only white face in the film.
And you know what's crazy? Because they talking about how violent the hood is. You know who the safest person in the hood is? Probably a white bitch.
Yeah, I'm telling you. But we can't go in their neighborhood by ourselves, can we? Would we have been able to be the only black face in their areas? No. What would have happened to us? I'm just saying.
Yep. Now, Cassidra, check this out, right? Because what they're doing is lying, because they were like, the dude was the first one to ever do this kind of study, which he did for like 2 months and study in a little area. But this is a brother here, right, who wrote books, and he was a sociologist, you know what I'm saying? And he talked about the black experience, you know what I'm saying? His name was E. Franklin Fraser, Edward, or they got him Edward Franklin Fraser, but on his books is E. Franklin Fraser. You know what I'm saying? So he did a bunch of actually studies like where of the black family, and he talked about the real stuff, but you know what? He actually documented like the rise and the successes of black family and how the black family grew. You know what I'm saying? Who did a real study on it, but they don't talk about him. He did it like in 1930 something, and he died in 1962, right? So if he would have tried this mess before then, and he died in 62, they made the Moynihan thing in 1965. But this brother was writing books about this stuff in the 1930s. You know what I'm saying? He put in real work. And I want to play you like a part of it, but I had to show you this brother. Let me see.
Best known for his critical work in the black middle class work, Fraser's lifelong image as well.
I'm gonna let you hear what he wrote first, and then I'm gonna play a little bit about him, just a little bit.
I'm gonna read something from this particular book. Well, this is a little pamphlet about the book, and I'm just reading from the preface. Is to present a study. It is the purpose of the present study to show in a more thorough-going fashion how these families, which is the black, they call them Negroes, dead families, originated and became the vanguard in the cultural and economic progress of the race. You got to realize that black people were advancing by leaps and bounds. You know,
this is a black author telling you about the black family before then, you know what I'm saying, before the nonsense that he was saying, you know what I'm saying, because this is who I think you should be listening to anyway. It's like, because there were black people documenting stuff back then. You do know that, right? You know,
right after slavery. And that's what was worrisome to the enemy. So let's go to chapter 1.
Right.
That's what was worrisome. We're advancing by leaps and bounds. You know, right after slavery. And that's what was worrisome to the enemy. So let's go to chapter 1, origin, growth, and distribution of the free Negroes. Now, I'm not going to read from the beginning because really this is going to be very quick. And I just want to read this portion. I think here, let's see. So he's going to say, the free Negro population was increased through 5 sources. Number 1, children born of free colored persons. Number 2, mulatto.
Hold on, let me see. I think
this is going to be very. The purpose of this study is to present a study. Excuse me.
Oh yeah, that was the only part I wanted to play. I already played it. He was saying like how black families were, you know, to show how black families were successful, how they built their communities, and how a lot of black families were doing great things. You know what I'm saying? And let me show you about this brother, like, because he had a lot of books about it, like the Negro Church in America, the Negro family in America, right, and the Negro family in other places. You know what I'm saying? Like in the Caribbean islands, you know what I'm saying? And he talked about one of the most important things that he talked about too was the black bourgeoisie class, you know what I'm saying? And so I want to show you like this part because I want you to see his quote, right? Because he was like, because it's I'm gonna let him read it because
black people, the science for we've forgotten because we to make it easy for them to kick our ass, basically. The role of a struggle to gain acceptance by whites, the black bourgeoisie has failed to play the role of a responsible elite in the Negro community. E. Franklin Fraser.
So this is in the 1930s. He's saying like, yo, it was the black bourgeoisie trying to fit into the white community, right, that failed to play their role of the responsible elite class of the black community. You know what I'm saying? How it was the boule that was really selling us out, you know what I'm saying? And one thing about him, and I'm not going to play it though, but she like you should listen to this sister video about him. She did a good video. He was a black sociologist, but you know, he talked about because one of his friends was like, "Oh, how you gonna talk about the Boule when you one of us?" You know what I'm saying? And then he was like, "Well, yeah, that's how I know what to talk about. I'm telling y'all the truth. Like these people is like selling you out. They not doing their job as the elite class to move the race forward." You know what I'm saying? And this was in the 1930s that he talked about that. But he also talked about how great in 1939, you know, the Negro family in the United States. So, you know, even when they say he was the first person to do, they say the Moynihan first port was the first one. It was not true. And it was not based off real data. Like this brother went around interviewing people and took years to, you know what I'm saying? This was his dissertation, you know what I'm saying? As a book. So people don't talk about that, you know what I'm saying? Consider. So yeah, that was interesting.
They always taking our credit. This dude was out in 1930 and Moynihan came out 30 years later and he took all the credit. Lord, it's crazy.
So consider is the one last thing I want to show you before we wrap it up, right? Because you mentioned it a few times, right? Because after Moynihan Report, see, this is the immediate thing. We ain't even gonna get into it yet, you know what I'm saying? But this is the next part of history, the direct next thing. First, you have the Black Riots, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, also 1965 is when Malcolm X got killed, and there was a whole lot of stuff going on, and you know, then the Civil Rights Act, and then the Voters' Rights Act, and then all of these, you know what I'm saying, other bills, you know what I'm saying? But this was the very next thing that happened after the Moynihan Report. That's why, like, we got to go through history without whatever. So check it out. It was the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act. So, you know what I'm saying? That's one of the things that happened directly out. That was the first bill, I think, after the Moynihan Report, you know what I'm saying? When we was talking about the black community.
Law says everybody is equal. It opens up a new stream of migration, primarily from Asia and Latin America. And so it changes the character and complexion of American immigration.
Repeat after me. I hereby declare on oath that I renounce all allegiance and fidelity.
It's part of the civil rights movement in the sense that it is the moment in which the United States is really trying to remove racial and national criteria from the law. Because you see in that period from 1964 and 65, not just two acts passed, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and the Immigration and Nationality Act. And all of them are very important to bringing the nation more into line with its professed ideals of inclusiveness and liberty and justice for all.
No, ain't that something now? I'll ask those brothers and sisters in Chicago right now how it worked out. Ain't that something, Cassidra?
Wow. So how do you take something that was made for Black folks, Civil Rights Bill, right? And don't even use it for them, but use it for some other people. And this is what they're doing even now. That's what's going on in Chicago. The same exact, you just rewrapping stuff. You just rewrapping it and calling it something else. The same thing is happening now. You're using Black folks bill, right? Something that was made for Black people, but not use it for Black people, gaslight us, and act like we don't know what you're doing. So we're going to put 500 people. This is what they're doing in the schools in Chicago, right? The same thing. We're gonna come in and we're gonna build, you know, the minority, you know, as far as the Mexicans or Spanish or whatever. But then Black folks laying on the streets on the ground homeless. You got a homeless population in California, but you getting ready to house the Mexicans. They better burn that school down. I'm serious. I'm telling you. Until Black folks start burning some shit up, until start burning stuff down, nothing is going to change. Only time we see change is when you become a revolution. You got to do something. You can't just sit here and keep doing stuff that's not working. We marching. That's doing nothing. When we came into this thing with George Floyd 2 years ago, and we was burning stuff down, they was beginning to move. If we had kept burning stuff down, we'd have had or George Floyd bill. Not that we needed it. I'm just saying something would have been passed. They faked you out and did what? Soon as you stop marching, they shut it down. Shut it all down. I pass.
Yep. And see, you know, and that's what I was saying. Like, yo, it's when they have war and these think tanks, he's like, yo, let's change the complexity of America and start bringing these quote unquote model minority. Now, don't get it wrong, the Asians that came over here, all of these other groups, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, they've always sided against us. So what you think was gonna happen when they start letting them in? You know, I guess to be the new updated slave patrol, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Into like, you know, we see the same thing happening, like Cassidra just said today, you know what I'm saying? So like what I'm telling you about all of these, it's not just one thing, you know what I'm saying? They have these think tanks and they plan these moves and actions, and how can we stop this Black revolution? Because that's the one thing that we cannot have. In the 1960s, let's be real, was the last closest thing that we had to it. And even then, Malcolm X had an army at his fingertips, and his leader told him not to use it that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how close we was, and that's the mindset that we still that close right now. All you got to do is just say, yo, enough is enough, and you're still right there. I never understood how everybody on a job could be against something, and then, you know, instead of saying, yo, we not standing for that, we all not doing nothing. I get it, because maybe I got less to lose. I'm like, yo, maybe I don't have kids or something, so I can't really say that. But like, if we all it's about like not doing it, then they can't just fire all of us, you know what I'm saying? But somebody gonna cross the picket line, you know.
But you know what? Even with that forecast, I've seen Mexicans, right? Just like Florida. Let's take Florida for example. Florida DeSantis said what? He passed a bill that we're not going to use immigrant, Mexicans. If you don't have papers, you can't work, blah, blah, blah. We're going to file felony charges. What did those Mexicans do? All of them. They stopped working. All of them. So this is what Black folk take notes now. The Mexicans, all of them stopped working. Nobody is going to work in Florida. Nobody. So what do you think gonna happen? They're gonna have to do something, because they're not gonna leave them. They're not gonna leave the oranges in the field. They're not gonna eat their strawberries. I'm just saying. They all did. One did it. They all do. And I've seen it done on my husband's job. I've seen it to where the Mexicans come and say, we're not gonna do this, and they all won't come to work that day, and nothing happens. They don't get fired. They conform. They do what the Mexicans ask them to do. They give them raises. So you mean to tell me they can do that for Mexicans and they can't do that for Black people? But we as Black folk need to start building our own. Stop begging them to let the Mexicans do it. You want the Mexicans to do it? Let's start building ours little bit by little bit. We have to start somewhere though. And let the Mexicans have it. And we support our own. Without that Black dollar, I guarantee you it'll fall. I guarantee you it'll fall.
Yep, exactly.
Pass my mic.
And my problem is, in today, you know, and the brother talked about the Black bourgeoisie, and a lot of people in certain positions that I've seen who's supposed to be the educated Black class, they be like, the Black dollar doesn't mean this and doesn't mean that. You know what I'm saying? Like, the myth of the Black dollar, bro. If you put your resources together, it don't matter how much, like, you're going to grow your stuff. If you can't give your children jobs and give your unemployable jobs, then they're probably going to end up eating the community. You know what I'm saying? And it's up to us to put our, you know, be able to, like, if you have a business, you know what I'm saying, instead of being afraid of the Black, like, say you make it in the hood, because the Arabs and the Chinese and all of them, after the 1965 nationality stuff, you know what I'm saying, they start making stores in your hood and getting funded to do it. And they don't have a problem. But you see Black people like, oh, I'm not going in the hood. I'm not messing with the hood that was made during this time in 1965. It wasn't really like that in 1960, you know what I'm saying? Well, really after the Highway Act, you know what I'm saying, before that, but you know what I'm saying? So like, you know, the Black businesses could really, instead of saying being against the other Black people, like, look, I'll offer you some kind of incentive, free food on Sunday, free this, or you can have some stock in my company or something like that for protection, you know what I'm saying, in your own neighborhoods. But that's a whole bunch of stuff that we can do, you know what I'm saying? But let me show this last video, Cassidra, because this is the last one, because I want to show this one. The effects of the 65 Immigration Act, you know.
America has always been a land of immigrants.
Yeah, whatever, man.
Law have opened the nation's doors to a new wave of immigrants who once again changed the face of America.
The 1965 Immigration Act completely transformed the Asian American community, and I would argue completely transforms America. It really changes the last important immigration act, which is the 1924 Immigration Act. The 1965 Immigration Act allocates an equal number for every country in the world, 20,000. It allows Asian immigrants to come in on the same basis as any other country in the world. So now they constitute about 4% of the American population, 10 to 12 million.
The 1965 Act said that family reunification was one of the top preferences.
And that's on family reunification.
So if you had relatives in China, you could sponsor them under the 1965 Act.
Now, the same time, they like, yo, well, you got to have the fathers out, but they want to unify these quote unquote model minority. Now, you know how they thanked you for that? Ask Latasha Harling, you know what I'm saying? Ask Peter Liang, you know what I'm saying? That's how they thank you for that. And that's
But guess what? They allowed their families to come together, didn't they? They didn't do no separation of the families, did they? They allowed them to bring their families, and they were staying in the same household. They gave them money to come into our neighborhoods and open up businesses. But guess what? We have to blame Black folks because we allowed it. We supported their businesses, boycotted our own, and supported theirs. And we do the same thing today. So we can't blame them. They did just what that's what they came here to do. And it was take them Black dollars, and they got them.
Yeah, integrate the Black dollar.
Mother immigrated in 1941 before here.
Ethnic. Yeah. The Immigration Act of 1965 also propelled a dramatic rise in Latino immigration, increasing ethnic diversity in the society as a whole and within the immigrant communities themselves.
Now, keep in mind, this is the next thing that happens after the Moynihan Report. Like, this is what they take the findings, and they had the Civil Rights Act and all the Voters' Rights Act, you know what I'm saying? And then the Immigration Act of 1965. Now, I don't see what would make Negroes vote Democrat for any of those things. But the dude did say that he was working for, right? Because the dude was a Secretary of Labor to institute these social programs, you know what I'm saying? At the same time to do this, because it's a multifaceted war, you know what I'm saying, that's going on. Every aspect of that life that you can control yourself. If I don't want somebody to have any kind of power, then I'm gonna make sure that they are hurt on every single level. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they're going to do. And the same president, what the dude working under, who did this study in like 2 months and then it got leaked, right? He told you, I'm gonna have you voting Democrat for 200 years, and it's like 72 after this. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
You cannot assume now that if you see an individual that is of Latin American background, that individual is Mexican. Or you cannot assume that individual is Puerto Rican.
I know how to think through. Let me ask Trayvon Martin or Philando Castile. You know what I'm saying? The things we get for that.
So we need a new term, and many people are turning to the term Latino. When you have people, for example, from Guatemala and El Salvador.
Now, again, because I heard these educated people saying this now, not even the people who be like, you know, Samuel Adams was Black or whatever, you know what I'm saying? John Adams was Black and all those people. I'm talking about the educated people who be like, you know, all of these other groups, like the poor people, and don't try to do everything but Black, you know what I'm saying? All of these other groups, the Asian Act that they just got, you know what I'm saying? They didn't be like, well, no, we're Japanese. We just want the Japanese. No, we're Chinese. No, we're Filipino because y'all love the Filipino. The Filipinos fit right on in. They're not the Black Asian. They're just another group of Asians, all right? There's Black people and everybody else, right? So understand that. But with these, we need a new term to identify under, you know what I'm saying? That'll unify us and as a collective, which is the Latino people. But Black people is like, no, I'm not Black. I'm everything but Black, you know what I'm saying? Because by European standards, by the way, you would have to go by European standards to say what it means, you know what I'm saying? But like, yo, we know what we're talking about. We know that we are a group of people that need to get together like we was doing and rebuild our families. And you can't do that with a Latino bitch, an Asian bitch, you know what I'm saying? Only a black woman that we sit here argue about the Moynihan Report, you know what I'm saying? While other groups come in to take your dollars, you know what I'm saying? We got to stop having these dumb arguments all the time, you know?
Settling down in communities that are predominantly Mexican, you start talking about a blending of cultures and a differentiation of Latino culture.
Joined large, established immigrant communities. But in recent years, many smaller towns and less populous states have also been transformed by immigration.
In the early 90s, IBP meatpack.
All right, so you know that's enough. That's enough of that. Y'all can look that stuff up yourself. You know what I'm saying? Oh damn, I can't find Charlie go. It was a long time ago. I don't know if he's still there. But yeah, this was a show really for like you know, that I wanted to do with Cassidra, because she's talking about the you know, healing of the black community, you know what I'm saying, and all of this stuff, you know. But I think it's interesting that you start seeing a rise in the Asian population and the Spanish population, or Latino, or whatever the hell, the East Mexicans or the East Arabs and the Chinks and all these other groups. And you see the things that you get, number one, from all of that, you know what I'm saying? But also it was by plan, by design, you know what I'm saying? How do we break up their family? We dilute the population. And we've been talking about people of color ever damn since, you know what I'm saying, and voting Democrat, and you know what I'm saying, talking about all lives matter with everybody else, you know what I'm saying? And we ain't got no damn where. Ain't that something? What you think though, Cassidra?
Like you said, all of this was done by design, all of it. And we still don't get it. And we're still allowing them to take our black dollars. We still don't want to support our own. We still don't want to build our own schools. We still don't want to build our own clinics and supermarkets. We talk about the doctors, black women. We talk about this, but then we send our babies to white schools instead of HBCUs and supporting our own schools. Let's hold those presidents of those HBCUs accountable. You bring somebody in here that's not look like us, we holding you accountable. We getting you up out of here. Seriously, we lay down some laws. That's not what we're doing. We letting everybody in now. You got white folks, Spanish folks, you got everybody in these black HBCUs. Why? Tell me why. What's wrong with us supporting us? We know the tactics. We see what they're doing in our schools to our babies. We could see the failure, because if those schools were good, they would have never let your black child in it. They did, everything is done by design. Everything they've devised for us has been for our demise, and we still don't get it. What's it going to take? We say we woke. What are you building? You say you woke? Did you buy land with your $10,000 taxes you just got back? No, you went out there and bought a damn car that broke down a week later. I'm just saying, what are we building? What are we doing different? We say we woke. Okay, we woke. Big deal. What are you doing different? Are we taking our children out of their schools? Are we creating our own workforce, or owning our own businesses, or creating jobs for our own? No, we're still looking to Biden, a man who did the most harm. Now, this blows my mind. This man did the most harm to black families, and we gave that all-timer fool the highest seat of the country, presidency. He may not even know he's president, but we gave him that seat. That right there is mental illness at its finest. Clinton talked about your black children, made a crime bill, another crime bill, and took the other half of black families away. And we love the Clintons. We love the Clintons. I'm just saying, something's wrong here. Something is definitely wrong with this picture. When are we going to start to do for us? Now you got the immigrants coming. I mean, and they coming in by the droves. But Joe Biden told you. He said, America is doomed. Remember? Not just because of the African Americans. What did he say? You're going to have to learn how to work with them Spanish folk. Because I'm going to make sure I let enough of them in here. So if we do, if we are at risk of not existing, you're going to have to deal with the Mexicans. And those Mexicans are way more racist than them white folk, honey. I'll pass my mic.
Yep, facts. He said not just because of the African Americans. Yep. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
all facts.
And nobody act like they did, and nobody act like nobody said anything. They act like they didn't hear what he just said. I looked up and said, did anybody say what he said? And nobody said a word. Everybody's like, oh, I didn't hear nothing. I don't hear no what did he say? You heard what he said. You heard what he said, what he just said. And everybody act just like they ignored him.
Lesser of two evils, Cassidra.
Huh?
Lesser of two evils, Cassidra.
The lesser, you picked the worst one. I was making money doing Trump. I don't know what y'all talking about. I'm not saying he's not racist, but I don't believe that either one is going to do anything for Black people. Dr. Klein Anderson told us what to do. He said, we pick our own, we put him in office, and we hold him accountable, period. Stop choosing who they pick for you, because who they pick for you, everybody that Biden chose, like that Black Ketanji, what's her name? The judge. She's not going to do anything for Black folk. Then he set her and picked another Black one. She's not going to do anything for Black folk either, because they're all married to white men. So where do you think their loyalty is going to lie? Come on, Black folk, let's wake up. Black folk that he picked are Boule, and those people are working for white supremacy, and they are not there to do anything for Black folk. Because still, even though Ketanji's in there, whatever the woman's name is, she's there, but has she done anything about police brutality? Has any of them done anything about police brutality? No, because they don't care. Not my child, not yet. Not my son, not yet. It could be. I'm just saying. What are we going to do about this family? We've done this. We're showing the Black family. We're showing the damages. We know what happened. What are we going to do about it? We're going to still allow them to have our children from now until they get tired, or they try, or until you look at them and you can't tell which one they are, girls or boys. Because right now they're not telling your girl she's a little girl. I don't know what they're calling them. It babies. I don't know what the hell they're calling them now. But they're not calling them a gender. They're going to be genderless. What the hell does that mean, genderless? So a little girl's not going to know she's a girl, and a boy's not going to know she's a boy. That is, I'm telling you, that's crazy. And nobody cares that this is going to happen. This is happening to your children. We know, we see what's happening, but nobody is willing to do anything. Nobody is willing to create anything. We're going to just hope for the best. Maybe one day these crackers will change their heart and love on Black folk. You've got to be kidding. These folk been burning you alive since forever. They've been taking your babies, hanging you, and they still hanging you. They just hung. What didn't they just hang one a year ago at Walmart? Found a few bodies out there, haven't we? I'm just saying. And we sitting up here hoping and praying these crackers change. They ain't gonna never change. And you mixing and mingling and marry them now. What sense does that make? These are the same people that cut babies out of your pregnant ancestor's stomach, fed your babies to alligators. Those are the same people. They never changed. So what are we gonna do different? Absolutely nothing. Not a dang gone thing. We're gonna keep on looking crazy. Keep on allowing them to educate our children. Keep working for them. But I'm gonna tell you what's coming. Y'all gonna wish you got prepared to do something. I pass.
Yeah, I mean, that you was going in. That's all. I'm over here cheering you right now, because what you're saying is all facts. You know what I'm saying? So, and well, you kind of killed it. There's nothing I could really say. You know what I'm saying? Just to like bring it to like a close, right? So all the stuff that we seen today in the Black family and stuff like that, we seen that it was a strategic move, you know what I'm saying? And like we said, we just keep talking and not doing nothing as a group, you know what I'm saying, as a society. And then we see like the weakness that we have, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like you said, like they teach like our children any and everything. And now we see all kinds of misinformation about history, and now everybody's in our stuff, and then we start talking about this people of color. Now, this move, it was a war strategy. It was supposed to go this way, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to say like it hasn't done its damage, but like for you, like what are some of the things that we can do to like kind of reverse it and get it back in order, you know what I'm saying? rebuild the family structure? Like, you know, just like how can we reverse like some of the stuff that we saw today?
For one, ram in the bush. That's why we're here. We're trying to reverse everything. We're trying to reverse things, but can't do it by myself. We have black schools, Zach's Institute, New York. Why aren't we joining that? That's one start to re-educate. Takes one generation to re-educate our babies. You've got to take your babies out of their schools. You've got to start building our own tables. Just like right now, we're educating felons. We're educating our 18 to 21-year-old, 25-year-olds how to build their own tables. That's how we do it. We start somewhere. I'm doing this. Another person can come up with a foundation of buying some land, pulling your monies together, start buying land separately. So we have to start slowly separating from them. Have your security. If you got your land, have your security in charge of your land. If you're building on your own land, make sure you have security out there. Make sure that we hold each other accountable. If we see that we have somebody on our team and we see that that person is working against us, like Candace Owens or something, I'm just saying, I'm throwing her name out there, but you know the spirit I'm talking about. We handle that person. We don't need to go to the police. You handle that person. Trust me, if enough of them start getting handled, just what white folk do, they handle their people who get out of line, don't they? And nothing happens, right? They know not to get out of line. So if we start doing the same thing, I guarantee you'll start seeing the change. But until we start doing something different and we start parenting on purpose, we need black doctors in our community. We need midwives. We need our own clinics. Okay, start a small clinic. You don't have to have 50 people to start this clinic. You can have you can rent a building, you and maybe 10 other friends, right? And rent the building out to doctors. Let them come in your community. Have lawyers come in there once a week. Doctors come in there once a week. Have a dentist come in there once a week. These are things that we can do. Rent a building and have, like, in the back, put you some businesses in there. Everybody pay $100 a week and you selling your products and we don't buy from anybody but our own. I guarantee you they'll come begging for us to come back to their tables. But no, once we leave their tables, we leave their tables. But guess what? We're going to have to look for the COINTELPRO, but we're going to handle them. We're going to get them some backyard justice. Seriously, we're going to get them some jungle justice. You don't know how to act, and we find out that you're working for white supremacy to divide and conquer. We're going to divide and conquer your behind. We have to do it like this. We're going to have to clean house. Right now, the ones that want to build, we build. The ones that's ready to build, we have to start parenting. Like I said, start using our HBC. They're there. Why aren't we using them? We'll send our child to Cornell University. I'm just saying, these are white universities. Why are we not supporting our own? They're trying to close our universities. So we're going to let them take that too? Come on, you guys. We can do much better. We're in a spot right now because of us. It's no longer, you can no longer blame white folk. I'm serious. Because we can stop this at any time we want to. Take away from them. Build your own. Support your own. Be there. Send your money with your own. Stop going out here to Walmart. You have a black-owned business. We have to get like those websites where we can like a what do you call it? Like a phone book. Okay, I'm just saying we put all of our black businesses in there. Okay, if we in Georgia, you put your thing in. Okay, let you know you're in Georgia. You got a black-owned business in South Carolina. Put it in the file. You got a black-owned business in Virginia. We put it in. So therefore, we can go to the same file and look for a black-owned business in our area and use those black-owned businesses. We won't do that. We know that that's a need. Who's going to take that up? I can't do everything. These are some things that I see that's needed. I'm doing what I can. I need everybody else to jump on board and do their part. I'm willing to help you, but I can't do it all.
Yeah, facts. And by the way, Cassidra, I meant to tell you too, like my sister Blue, she said that she's like want to come up with the like the book with the businesses, because like all the ones that I researched when we was looking into it,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying, they have the people of color stuff. Like, so when you look at it, you look at the business, they're not even a black person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went to like a couple of them when I look at all of the ones that they produce.
No.
Yeah, like they use people of color, you know what I'm saying? Like, when they have like the apps and stuff that exist now that say black owned business, it's really people of color, and like most of them is not even black. Like, it's crazy.
Right. Because I remember I was looking for a beauty supply place there in Virginia, right? Because my daughter used to live there. And we came down, and most of the businesses, they say they're black, but they were Chinese. Because first thing I say is it black owned, and the Chinese man answered the phone time of year. How the hell you black owned when you Chinese answering the damn phone? Well, I hung up on him. I was hang up on, told my granddaughter. She was calling around, and they said, "Yeah, you can't even talk English, but you black owned. Get out of here." Well, then we go there, not even knowing that it's not black owned, and get out. And we walk in there, and this Chinese all turn around, walk out. You're not getting my money. That's what we have to be, family. We have to get to a point where we are supporting us no matter what. And I would love to work with your. You said that's your niece, or who'd you say your sister?
No, that's my friend. She been on here she haven't been on here for a while, but it's my homegirl Blue. She got a lot of. She's like business minded like you. She like to she has like businesses going on and stuff like that you're doing. And
wow, is she wanting to get that magazine going, or was she trying to get that going?
Yeah, probably she when we talked about it, it was like not a lot of support, and then we can still make a thing where it's like you. When that was the purpose of when we was trying to have those meetings and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, to start to create those platforms, and so that we can get the people who was down to bring that business, but people don't you know what I'm saying, is real. I don't know, yo, I know that you're serious because you say wilder stuff to me and you don't have no fear, you know what I'm saying, in your heart, but a lot of people don't want to be around certain things. When I go certain places, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people won't stand by you, you know what I'm saying? And that's why
no, they won't. They won't stand at all. They won't support. They won't say, they won't part their lips for a cast. I'm serious. But guess what? If your sister, your friend, I would love to work with her on that, to get that going, because we need that desperately, even for the ones that want to participate. Let's all get together and do it. We can have a think tank on that and create that. That needs to be created. That's something that we need. If you know of a business, and we can share it on our pages and I don't know, maybe share it on Twitter or somewhere, that if you're a black owned business, you get in contact with your friend, and we can all share that on our platforms. If you are black owned business, you need to contact so and so. You need to prove that you are black owned business. Don't come up here talking about I'm Ching Chang and I'm black. No, you show me your face, show me your credentials, and we will add you on, seriously. And that needs to happen today, because we need something in our own community. And I'm just saying, if we start somewhere, if we start small, it'll grow. But if we don't ever start, it'll never grow.
Yeah, so I'm gonna definitely try to get y'all two in contact, because I'm pretty sure like I said, yo, it is ironic that the sisters do they putting in work, you know what I'm saying? She probably helped me when I was trying to start doing events, you know what I'm saying, under the thing. I could reach out to, because I probably won't be good reaching out to some of these companies, you know what I'm saying? I might not word it the right way to get the resources that we need, you know what I mean? That we could give back to black people, though,
You can write a letter. You have a foundation. You can write a letter. You can write a letter and go to any business and get support from that business. You have there's a that you can use that you can present it at these businesses, and they'll donate to you. I'm just saying, we have to start somewhere, family. We can't just sit here and say, well, we can make 50,000 excuses and not come up with anything in the next 10 years. But I guarantee you, if we get this thing, the roster, out and about, we get people to start joining. Just start adding the black owned businesses in your area. We have to start somewhere. And if you go to that roster and you know that there's a black owned business, support it. What's the problem? And if something does not work right, or it doesn't, the service is not up to par, don't go and blast it. Go to that person. Give them, critique their business positively. You don't go there and say, yeah, I ordered it. No, it's a way to talk to people. You're not being offensive. You're helping them to grow their business. I remember dealing with this young lady, and she wrote, helped me with my book, and it was taking her so long, and we went back and forth, and and I finally got tired, and I said, okay, we got to have a powwow. I literally had a powwow, and I told, look, we need to talk. I really want you to finish doing what you were doing. I don't want to, I want us to work together, because she's got some amazing ideas, but she just needs to be tweaked around the edges. She was just taking so long to do this and the other. And her and I talked. Yes, she got mad at first. And I'll refund your money. I said, I don't want my money back. I want you to do what you promised me to do. I could have had an attitude and, oh, yeah, give me my money back. No, critique is critique and everybody can't take it. But eventually we finished that conversation. I wasn't mad. She, kind of calmed down, and, she tried to give me my money back. No, I don't want you. You told me I'm holding you to your word. And I didn't let her get, refund my money. I'm just saying. But we worked it out, and she did an amazing job. But it wasn't perfect. But guess what? I didn't go and get on the internet and say, so-and-so didn't do. No, we talked it out, and we're best of friends. I'm telling you. And I can get her to do anything I need done. I'm just saying. It took me just coming to her as a sister and just saying, hey, I need some help, and this is what I need you to do. I said, I love you as my sister, but I'm gonna need you to tighten up. And she, what you mean? But I was real with her in love. But it improved her business. I'm just saying, this is what we have to do. We have to support. We have to start somewhere, you guys. And if we don't start now, when? Who out here got an idea? Who out here needs some help? I'm willing to help anybody. I'll help you with your idea. I'm not going to do it for you because I may have some ideas because it's probably something I thought of before, but I can't do everything. But if you got an idea, I'll put my email in the chat. Email me. I'll help you if I can, or I'll point you to somebody that can help you. We have to start. I'm not just talking. This is not just a talk for me. This is all about action. If you're ready to work, let's work. 10 of us can work. 10 of us can do some work. Forecast, you can put something together. We can have a think tank. Anybody that want to come join. Let's start somewhere, especially with your girl. Put your girl on to me. Let us all come together and we can talk with her and see what we can do as far as that website that needs to be built. And everybody can give $5. If the website is $30, okay, dang on it, I'll pay the damn $30. Come on. We can get that website together. I'm just saying. If she want to do it, tell her to here. You already got my number. Give my number to her, and we can talk about it, and let's make it happen. It's not always about talk. Yes, we've talked, but we know what we need to do, and we need to get busy.
Yeah, all facts. And highly favorite in the building. She'll be in the building listening. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, hey, highly favorite.
She said maybe to get some guidance on how to start a community and online Black magazine. Contact Plachette Sakara Hub. It's a cultural hub. I don't know how to say it, but they advertise Black business and events. Been circulating for almost 20 years. So, that's what's up. That's good. I haven't even heard of them.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's a good
They didn't even know that. See, this is what I'm saying. I know this is stuff that we need to be knowing about. Why don't we know about them? But let me just say one thing, Black family. Come on, let's be honest here. We cannot be exuberantly expensive. Okay. I'm just saying, you don't have to rob the whole Black community to get your business going. If you keep your prices at a minimum, you know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you to hurt yourself. But what I am saying, we have to be to a point where we're not knocking each other in the head just so that you can make a dollar. If you have your prices at a minimum, you know what I'm saying? And you're going to still eat. But let's not start at $100 when you can do it for $70. I'm just saying, let's make sure that we're not trying to rob one person. It's enough of us to go around. So if you keep your business at where it needs to be and not be super expensive, we don't mind supporting at all. I promise you, I don't. I've gone to different businesses, we have a mall, up here in Winston, and it's like a flea market, and it started by Mexicans. I hate it. And yes, you have Black folk in there, and I'm looking at these Black folk. I'm like, why didn't you start your own for just Black people? I've even thought about that. There's a building here in my area, but I can't even get 50 Black folk to come together with their businesses to help me with the building. I'm not going to do it by myself. I'm like, if we all spend maybe $50 a week and pay this rent, we can pay the rent on this building. Plus we can have the air on, you know what I'm saying? Air conditioning, because I don't want to be sitting up there hot because we don't want to pay for air. I'm just saying to put the electrical on. It's going to take us, but if it's enough of us, we can do this. But I just can't. Black folk just don't want to spend no money. They just want to work a job for the next 30 years and complain about white folk all their life. I ain't trying to do that. So I'm willing to help anybody that wants help. I'm willing to help them.
Yeah, and that's the truth. Holly Favor said it's in Sacramento, California. She expensive to advertise. It's $1,000 per month is why she don't advertise with her. But yeah,
see, that's exactly what I was saying right there. We can't afford that. I'm just saying, highly favored. I love you, thank you. But that's what I'm saying right there. Why Why is he going? What's she going to do for $1,000 a month? One person paying her $1,000. Does it really have to cost $1,000? That's what I'm saying. I just can't do it. That's what I'm saying right there. I'm not trying to knock her in the head. I don't want her to hurt herself, but I want her to be fair for Black people. I don't have $1,000 a month. Do you, Forecast? To
not
pay
just
for some
laying
advertisement?
around. No, not just laying around. No,
I'm just saying. It'll take 10 of us to make what? You get, that's a month. And then we got, come on, Ian. That's what I'm saying. We can do this, but you don't have to rob each other in the head. We don't have to beat each other up, because you'll get more flies with sugar than you would what? I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's all facts. And Cassidra got her Cash App on it. I was going to tell you to actually put it in the chat like at the beginning, but I'm glad you have put it on your name. And y'all support Cassidra Cheeks and what she's doing. She's dead serious too. Like she's going to tell you like the truth, like it needs to be told. You know what I'm saying? Like she don't bite her. You know, a lot of people are scared to say a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But she ain't scared. She's not one of those, and she puts her money where her mouth is. You know what I'm saying? And I know anytime that I got a question, or if I had a question in the past that I try to figure out, like maybe I could get confused on something, trying to figure it out myself, you know, like especially with certain parts of like making a nonprofit, like the legalized parts of it, you know what I'm saying? Like you can reach out and like she'll at least point you to in the right direction. She'll like she answered me every time. I know that, you know what I'm saying, she's like real, you know what I'm saying? Like, and she's about what she's saying. So y'all make sure y'all support her Cash App, and also y'all go to her channel, because I wanted her to come on here because she's been talking about healing the Black community. She just had the show about fatherless boys and about to have the one about fatherless girls, you know what I'm saying, and the issues with the Black community. And you was just talking about something like the Moynihan Report, you know what I'm saying, and that's why I wanted you to come on here. So also when she goes on with her content, y'all support that too, because she is the truth, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I want to thank you, Cassidra, for coming on here. I appreciate it. I ain't mean to take this long, take up this much of your time, but I really, really appreciate you coming on here.
I appreciate you even offering Forecast, because we have to get it out, and more than one. This topic is such a huge topic that it's going to take more than one person to do it. It's so many angles that we can hit this fatherless. You know, I'm getting ready to do a show, the fatherless girls. Hopefully they don't mess this one up. And I'm gonna get with you tomorrow, maybe, to help me to understand why did they, tamper with my live twice. They tampered with it first time it shut down, and then I went back live again and they tampered with that one. So I don't know which one is up. I have to find out. They said it was copywritten, so I need to find out what, because I showed several videos and I don't know which video. I can put it back up once I find out what video was copywritten. But I'm getting ready to do the fatherless girls on, I think, the 3rd, which is Saturday, I think it is. But we're getting ready I want you guys to come on. We need to discuss this. We need to talk about it. What's the harm? The harm is, there is harm without our men in the homes. And we can hit this topic in so many areas. Everybody that hears my voice, we can all tackle this problem. It should be across the board that we're talking about fatherless homes, because we are at a serious, I keep telling you, we're at a 911 with our babies. And if you look at our generation, what are you looking at? What's going on with our girls? What's going on with our boys? You got girls looking like boys and boys switching around here like girls. It's just ridiculous. And we didn't used to act like this, but until we got with them, until we started coming together with enemies, coming together with people that didn't like you, this is what we're looking at. And I need to give you props, Forecast. I'm going to tell y'all. I know he probably don't want me to tell you, but I'm going to tell you. Forecast is amazing. I'm telling you, because somebody blessed him, right? And he turned around and blessed me. I mean, who does that? That is just amazing. But that's teamwork, and that's the kind of guy that we're looking at. Forecast he's amazing. I'm just saying, you guys. He going to work that work, and I tell you, and he going to do what he going to do what it takes. He going to do it. He going to make it happen. So this is where the think tank starts, right here. It starts with us. The ones that are on this live right now, it should start with us, because obviously you guys are ready to do something. You're here. The ones that's not here, we can't worry about the ones that's not here, but the ones that are here, we can come together. I'm going to put my email in the chat, because I want you guys, if y'all have questions, if you want to do something, if you have questions, I'm here. If you want to, I'll help you where I can. but it's got to be your project. If I don't know, I'll find out. And I'll like for I say, I don't mind leading you in the right direction, because it's not about me. It's about us coming together to do the right thing for our babies. That's what's important right now. And what I'm seeing, I ain't liking. I don't like to see little boys. I have to turn them around to see if they got chest or not. After the way they walk in, the little booty so round like girls. I'm like, what is it? What is going on here? I mean, they got bodies like girls now. I'm like, what is going? Is it the food? You got boys looking like girls with poopies and I don't know. It's just sad. But I'm just. We can do this, you guys. That's all I'm gonna say. We can do this. But thank you for Cass. I appreciate you.
No, yeah, and I gotta thank you because and what you're saying, like I appreciate what you're saying, but like yo, it's really your motivation, like you matron, you know what I'm saying? Like y'all showed me with the nonprofit stuff, like even with my sister Blue, you know what I'm saying? She puts in a lot of work, you know, it's y'all like that's really like doing the work, like I said, I say a lot of stuff, and the thing is, you know, if I say it, then that means like I would have to do it, you know what I'm saying? And then when I see y'all putting in more work than I ever did, you know what I'm saying, it makes me realize that, like, you know, especially as a Black man, I really have to do my part, you know what I'm saying? And these forums, you know what I'm saying, is for one thing, it's for educational purposes and propaganda purposes, you know what I'm saying, because we have to get it back in control of our children's mind, you know what I'm saying? But it's really the work that like y'all are doing that is like showing me like how to do it, not only how to do it and what to do. Like y'all setting a good example. And I would say for like you, like when we talk about these meetings, I see like Bakari, I see like even though he puts in work, you know what I'm saying? Like I see him going out to interview Black businesses, supporting them. I see him like trying to like put effort into like certain things and like talk to young children, young kids. They're not children no more, they're like teenagers now, but you know what I mean. But like he's really putting in work to go out there and do that. But I have to say this, you know what I'm saying, because I'll use to, you know what I'm saying, instead of playing somebody else, I'll say this, you know, is a lot of things that come as two sides to all of this, you know, it's putting in the work. And like she was saying, like we still have to do the meetings and have the meetings and stuff like that, because I fell off of it because I was like, maybe it's another way to approach it. But like you saying, it's the people that was really there and really trying to put in work. And you could really make a difference just planning with those people and like putting your resources together. And some of those things is difficult to do. But we also have to recognize, like, even with us, you know, like with my sister Blue, when she was coming on here, she had a business to try to help people get jobs, you know what I'm saying? But like, I didn't even want her to put her number and stuff out there, but she did it anyway, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, she helped some people get jobs, but then there was a lot of people just emailing her all times of the night, you know what I'm saying? Just saying random stuff, not just saying like being about what they were supposed, like, you know, not being about business. She was like, yo, you have to say your name, this, that you want a job, because it's just a random person interviewing you. And it could be anybody doing it on these, you know, especially on YouTube. It could not even be a Black person. But unfortunately, you know, a lot of Black people do have this mindset of like, even with our businesses, like you were saying, it's like two halves. Like sometimes the business have to do what they can to be as good as they can, but even the people who supporting the business have to realize we don't have the same experience, we don't have the same anything as any other people, and we do have to go the extra mile, you know what I'm saying? So and highly favor, our young people are so indoctrinated and they giving oppression to us, correcting them. Yeah, and they do, you know what I'm saying? It's true, you know, and but again, that's on us to make sure that our children are protected, because that's what they're supposed to do, indoctrinate our children.
Right.
It's up to us to put the right mindset. And this is the point of these platforms. And I get when some of the older people be like, yo, I don't want to waste time, or you wasting not having correct conversations and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, unless you're doing what Cassidra is doing, you're just talking. Not that it's not an important part of it, but you're still doing the same. We're still all in the same situation, waiting for somebody to do something. You know what I'm saying? So like, you can't just distance yourself if you're like an older person, or be like, you know, I'm not this, I'm not that. And that's my opinion. I think that, you know, like when we were saying with 65, like, yo, that generation, the ball got dropped somewhere in between.
Mhm.
Our pinpoint 1965,
Yeah.
the ball got dropped.
Yeah.
We lost.
Yeah.
We lost. We
Yeah.
lost our children. We
Yeah.
lost our education. We lost all of that. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as older people,
Everything.
we cannot abandon another generation, because that's just going to be 3 or 4 generations with the same cycle, and they're going to do the same thing. So that's why, like, not everybody's going to stand with you when you start talking. And like, yo, with Erica, she's been there at every meeting, you know what I'm saying? And I hope she's feeling better. She's probably listening, but like, you know, I know she probably can't, you know, don't in the chat, but like, I hope she's feeling better. But she's there at every jump. But like, then you have the brothers, which disappoint me. I hear brothers be like, yo, I'm old, I did this, so we can't, I'm not gonna do, you know, I serve my, no, everybody got to play their damn part. You can't play the part
Right.
of a woman, of a sister. You got to be the brother who put, if that's what they call, they sacrifice their children for integration. But if I say sacrifice your children for the next thing, I ain't talking about throwing them in a volcano, but you got to be training them to be ready for war at all times.
Yes.
Teach them how to use the semi-automatic, you know what I'm saying? And gun safety. Teach them how to
Take them
grow
to the
food.
range. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Take them to the
range.
range. Oh my God. Yes, you guys. Yes. Go ahead,
So
Focus.
like,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, you good, but that's right. Like, you have to be willing to have your children, because I've been talking about the education and how that white dude Steve Bannon is talking about, well, we're going to attack the education system next, and they having this whole CRT conversation, but it shouldn't even be up to the school. They're not going to ever, like in the 90s, they didn't teach us no damn Black history. I had to learn about Ida B. Wells on my damn own. Like, it's up to us to create these institutions, and nobody else is going to do it for us. You know what I'm saying? So like, and there was mutual aid societies in the Black community before any of this, where Black people put their resources together and built the establishments that they needed. In 1780, 17, it's 2023. Like, I hate to be one of it's 2023, but I'm looking at Black people like, yo, we sick, you know what I'm saying? And we have a bigger problem than we had before, you know what I mean?
But do we understand now? They're getting ready to teach in Florida Asian history, but they took yours out. They'll teach our child LGBT. You already know that. But as far as Black history, our Black history, so we're going to stand for that? Yes, we are. See, that's the sad thing. We don't object to anything that they do. But my thing is, if everybody get in here, everybody on this live who has a part, begin to do your part. Start writing your plan and begin to do your part. If you don't know your part, come on, let's do a think tank and let's find out what your part. You might can help somebody else build theirs. But if somebody else is building and you say, well, I don't have mine, go and help somebody else. But let's start somewhere. We can no longer wait for them to do for us. They're not going to. We've got to see. We've pull our monies together. People got their taxes. What did they do? Did they save their taxes or they spend their taxes? I guarantee you most spent their taxes. We could have gave that money to Zykes Institute and him start a school in your area. We could have, because he's doing some things now. Did you right now? Are we supporting that? Did we give some money to that? Nope, but I guarantee you gave it to the white school for the book fair and the book club, didn't you? But you didn't give none to Zykes Institute. I'm just saying there's things that we can do. And we should be supporting our own right now. Let's stop complaining and let's get busy. That's all I got to say. Thanks again, Forecast.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Cassidra. Yeah, and that's all facts. You know what I'm saying? And stop talking about it and be about it. It's not. It's easier said than done, but you know what? It's done, not said. So you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we are all we got. You know what I'm saying? We don't have no friends. We can't afford no gender wars. We can't be arguing about what white dudes and white girls argue about. That's not our problem. We may have been arguing about stuff back in ancient, you know what I'm saying, Africa. We may have had arguments, but it was not these European arguments. And we understood, like, we see what happens when you take the father out the house. What do you think will happen if you take the mother out of the house? You know what I'm saying? It takes a man and a woman, you know. And like you said, like, they could teach, like, the LBGTQ history, but what they won't teach you is like most of those slave owners was faggots who was raping little boys and little girls. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, raping our men. Yep.
And
Having sex with grown men and allowing their families, friends to have sex with them too, to demasculate our men, to dehumanize them. What they still doing today.
Yep. And like Holly Favor, she want to do a $1 fundraiser. Yeah, you should do that. See what you get, you know what I'm saying, to what you could do. But I also have a plan and all of that to go with it, like what you want to do with it, you know what I'm saying, like your mission or like how you want to approach it, you know, like all of that is why you work together, you know what I'm saying. So I got to shout out to Cassidra for you know, helping me with what I have help with. I know it take time too, because like if you want to do it their way, you know what I'm saying, but you use every resource that you can, you know, to destroy them. But
it can be done. It can be done, but it's not going to be done overnight. But we start with one person, one brick. Do your part, and it grows. But if you don't ever start, it's never going to grow. Period.
Facts. So man, y'all, I appreciate all of y'all for coming through. You know what I'm saying? Listen, like we're gonna keep going through with history because there's a lot of stuff that we didn't even get to yet. You know what I'm saying? But this is just where I was, and it's important that we don't just take one thing out of history out of context and look at all of it together. You know what I mean? So, and we'll see the truth. Like, you know, we'll get back to that revolutionary mindset. You know what I'm saying? But again, like these platforms is meant for educational purposes and to raise the psyche in you to be mad enough to do something about the situation that you're in, you know what I'm saying, and to stand up and to do something and to stop being cowards, you know what I'm saying. And we got to understand what it's for. And people are not going to be there because a lot of us is cowards, you know what I'm saying. And it doesn't matter who's there as long as the right one is there. I don't care if you're there by yourself, then keep going until the end and never give up, because we can't give up. We all we got, you know. So but anyway, you wanted to say something, Cassidra?
I'm good.
All right, yeah. So I appreciate you, and as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.
Peace.